committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com. It's a brand new year. Tim Jones to tell you about the brand new things happening at The Hideout, famous for the Sunset Patio, 50 big screen TVs, live music and events, a fantastic game room, and of course, the food. The Hideout has a brand new menu featuring their world famous wings, the best handcrafted burgers, new items like the signature Sunset Dip and Dave's Chili, and a second location at Sugar Creek Golf Course in beautiful High Ridge. Experience the Hideout while enjoying a round of golf. Come in for lunch or dinner. The new 2025 Hideout, hideoutsportsbar.com, hideoutsportsbar.com. We'll definitely see you there.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
You know, when you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long have you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So the Cincinnati incident is a national problem, not just a Cincinnati problem. That's what Terrace Todd from the NCPPR says. We'll talk to him about that Monday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
School bus driver in a traffic jam, staring at the faces in a rearview mirror, looking at the promise of the promised land. One kid dreams of fame and fortune, one kid helps pay the rent. One could end up going to prison. One just might be president.
Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Only in America.
Randy Tobler.
Dreaming in red, white, and blue.
On News Talk STL.
Only in America. Where we dream as big as we want to. We all get a chance. Everybody gets to dance.
Welcome into the Tobler Show. Hey, thanks for being here. Thanks to Jerome for filling in last week. Great job, as I was down in New Orleans taking in some direct primary care conference. If you're watching on Facebook or Rumble or YouTube, you'll see I've got this D shirt on. Now you might think, Jerome, don't get mad at me. It doesn't mean D for Democrat. Doesn't mean
Good.
D for Democrat. Here it is. There it is. And it means D for direct primary care. We had a great direct primary care conference. It was great to see. The movement is growing. It's about, a decade or so old now. And younger and younger docs, some older docs getting into it. And we're just hearing a lot of good things about the movement. So there are great DPC practices in the metro area. We, of course, are doing that in our world. And I would encourage you, if you are struggling with paying lots and lots for premiums, or maybe you don't have insurance, but if you're not happy with your healthcare situation, not happy with access and affordability, when did we hear that before? Obamacare? They promised it. Direct primary care docs deliver it. You may want to look into that. Where to begin, young Jerome? I don't even know where to begin, man. We have jobs numbers out yesterday. Not so good. In fact, abysmal, along with downgrading of the previous couple of months. On top of what were some good GDP numbers on Wednesday. The Fed decided to keep a pause on things with dissension going on. First time in a long time, decades, with dissenters among the Board of Governors there on the federal funds rate. So we'll talk with Dave Hebert about that. It's going to be economy, I think, really sort of dominating the program today, because people are wondering if you're a boss, if you're a company owner, if you're a senior, if you're in the C-suite, or if you're in the mailroom, if you're an everyday worker like us, and you're trying to figure out how to make it make sense. I don't think anyone can, and that uncertainty, I think, is playing into what happened with the pretty bad market this week. A lot of uncertainty. jobs numbers down probably because people are holding their cards close to the vest. So that's on tap. Continue to absolutely struggle with what we witnessed in that video in Cincinnati that went so viral and was so brutal. And the image is just welded into my brain of that woman laying on the ground, looking like something out of a horror movie, a zombie with her eyes open, the blood dripping out of her mouth as she was cold cocked and knocked to the ground. That man brutally kicked and people taking their toe and just making sure on the upswing they were getting into his eye and his face, and then actually some good words from the Cincinnati police officer, the police chief there, and I've got some of those after she really put her foot in her mouth earlier in that communications thread. We'll talk with Betsy Brantner-Smith at later on in the program, 8:25. Patrice Onwuka will talk to us about what to do if you're trying to manage your family finances, if you're a single woman leading the household, maybe you're a guy leading a household, any of us. See what the Independent Women's Forum and Patrice, who's their economics director, thinks of the economic climate right now. And at 6:25, Dave Hebert, our favorite economist, is going to talk with us about things there from the American Institute of Economic Research. What does it all mean? His Substack said, hey, I'm still not a tariff fan. Dave's not a fan of tariffs. I read this morning, yesterday actually, that the Ford Motor Company that produces 80% of their vehicles here in America might actually be hurt by these tariffs. Now, think this through. The most domestic producing auto company in America, the Ford Motor Company, an iconic brand. Even if you drive a Chevy or a Ram or a Toyota, you gotta say the Ford is an iconic brand, producing the most domestically produced automobiles than any manufacturer. They are actually getting hurt by the latest tariff equations. Why? Because the parts that they use, the aluminum they use, and of course aluminum is more and more used to keep cars lighter and lighter, to keep up with the CAFE standards, those fuel efficiency standards, which, by the way, Lee Zeldin wants to see go away, will be hurt because there's a 50% tariff coming down on aluminum from the places where they get their aluminum from. At the same time, the Japanese imports now into Japan from exports here are going to go down from 25 to 15%, making domestically produced cars cheaper to buy over there, but higher to produce here. So in an ironic twist of tariff palooza, a company that I thought the tariffs were supposed to benefit, the type of company, right? A company committed to keeping production here, keeping jobs here, keeping money circulating here. How's that working out for everyone? Now, is that just an anomaly? I don't know. We'll ask Dave Hebert about that at 6:25. And you are certainly invited, you know that, as part of the Tobler Nation, to call in 312-914. Did I say that? 314-912-1019. 314-912-1019. And and then I think there's some lighter fare on tap as well. We have to talk about Sydney Sweeney. I mean, after all, it's been the talk of the cultural landscape this week. And the left desperately clinging, gasping like a dying animal that you shot, and it's taking its last breaths. I mean, what in the world is going on with them saying that a woman who is, call it any way you want, breathtakingly attractive in one way or another, makes a jeans commercial? They do a cute, brilliant wordplay on jeans, as in, your family history and the things you can't change but are immutable, and that is what you inherit. And suddenly it's a Nazi, racist, play. Unbelievable. So we've got to unpack that a little bit. And then locally, Sam Page, he's been flirting with trouble all along, right? Been flirting with trouble all along, Jerome.
Yep. And
now he gets indicted for spending public money on what I guess the grand jury thought was an explicitly anti-Prop B postcard that was sent out. I mean, it seemed to me to be a pretty trivial offense. and yet indicted on 4 related counts. What are your thoughts?
So we, Mike Ferguson in the morning, actually had some of the St. Louis County council members on to talk about this, and yeah, they all basically said the law that's been on the books for a while now is explicitly clear. You cannot use taxpayer funded, funding to pay for things on behalf of a county official or anything related to the St. Louis government, specifically campaigning and or basically trying to sway the way people vote. And they warned Sam Page before this that this would be illegal. Don't do it. And yet he went ahead and did it anyways. And I think this is very well deserved. I think it's about time that more people get charged with things like this that are in our government, because if we don't make a stance and we don't sit there and make an example of it, then we continue to have the Shar Jones of the worlds and the Cory Bookers and on all the other politicians that we're mad at. We continue to enable that behavior.
Now, you may find that there's a disagreement here. There may be a disagreement. I'm going to have to watch this unfold, and I can't wait for the trial to happen. But I want you to play digital audio file 10, because Elad Gross, who ran for office last election cycle and is a really pretty good guy. I've interviewed the guy. I mean, I think he's a more liberal, progressive guy, but Elad's a smart guy. Well, I just want to play what his analysis was on this and have you listen to this. Let's let this play on a little bit, because again, not that what Page did may not have been improper. Let's use that word, improper. Dare I say even illegal. Elad, because I was all over exactly what you were saying, Jerome, and what I think everyone was thinking, because Sam Page is the guy's an anesthesiologist, and he's an embarrassment to doctor world. I can tell you that as a doc, unless you happen to be a Democrat operative, maybe, and you think that's but he's been in and out of like flirting with trouble for as long as he's been the county, the county commissioner. So let's go ahead and listen to this, and then we'll unpack it a little bit.
B, which would have given the county council the power to terminate heads of county departments. Proposition B failed to pass. The county executive opposed Proposition B. The postcards and flyers in question were paid for by St. Louis County taxpayers. The contents are pretty clearly unfavorable to Proposition
Stop
B.
it there right now. Can you pause it? Okay. Take a look at the contents of this. It basically says, vote yes, this does this, vote no, this does this, in the 2 columns that you see. And if you're not watching, I'll just say it's a typical postcard that you might see. And if you took out basically the right 2/3 of the thing, basically it describes the pluses and minuses of the yes and no. And on the left, it says something about, what is that, Jerome? Something about, the ballot language clearly misstates the so there is some negative, I think, tone to it, right? But it does not explicitly say vote no. Go ahead.
Neither the postcard nor the flyer explicitly states that voters should vote yes or vote no on Proposition B. Just a few years ago, the Missouri Supreme Court looked at the election law that the county executive is accused of violating. The court noted, and then Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt agreed, that the law is designed to prohibit express advocacy, like saying vote for or vote against something. The court also noted that it would be very hard to prove the necessary intent to violate the law to get a prosecution without the use of express advocacy or its functional equivalent, which is communication that cannot be interpreted in any other reasonable way other than as advocacy.
Okay. So, all right. So, I think being truth warriors as we are, we need to look this up. And again, I got to do more to unpack this, because this just came to light last evening as I was thinking this through, and I ran across this on the Twitter thread. And he makes the point that a lot of these things have been brought up, and some people have paid fines for the same kind of things, in some cases worse. And the question is, could Andrew Bailey, at least, is there an argument that perhaps this is politicizing the law by overcharging it, by making it a criminal matter rather than a civil matter? Jerome?
So we actually had some of our listeners send us a copy of the mailer that they got. The one that this gentleman, and I'm not faulting him or trying to be rude to this gentleman. He seems very well informed, but the one that we were sent is not the one that he's referring to. The one we were sent is actually does say. So if we find it pertinent, I can go through my emails real quick and we can pull that up in the later segments because yes, it does very clearly say vote no Prop B, and that's where it becomes an issue.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? I guess in the big picture of things, if he's criminally liable, he should be criminally prosecuted. I get it. Maybe there's a mistake in that other people who have done essentially the same thing have been civilly. Why weren't they criminally prosecuted? So maybe it's a matter of, previous attorney generals didn't do the right thing. I'm a fan of Andrew Bailey. I like Andrew Bailey. I talked to Andrew Bailey on my weekday program in Columbia all the time, and personally get along with him great. I just think we got to be careful. This is my ongoing theme. When you have the high road, don't put a pothole in it. And, you got the high road. There's plenty of evildoers that are really serious criminals that really hurt the public safety or the public trust. And you got to be careful about overplaying a strong hand. That's what I admonish. Guess what? Myself, the minute you get a little too much swag is the minute you get in a little too much trouble. Just a fact of life. Well, that's what I think. Let's see what Dave Hebert thinks, not about Sam Page using public funds for a postcard, but about the economy and what does it mean for you? What is there another shoe going to drop on the tariff story, on inflation? We'll talk with him in just a moment when we come back on the Randy Tobler Show on News Talk STL 101.9 94.1. Keep it right here.
This whole thing's got me thinking about how privileged I've been. America's a wonderful country. If I were a black man, I'd be furious. We're getting frustrated.
Number one for live and local
conservative talk.
There are certain issues that we need improvement. They would rather have this country on its knees than be successful.
News, analysis, opinion.
We have common sense, and the Democrats have none.
101.9 and 94.1.
And I appreciate the discussion.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Early, so Monday through Friday, listen to me from 5:30 to 9. Mike Ferguson here, and you are listening to the Randy Tobler Show right here on News Talk STL.
Everybody that I speak with, money managers, business managers, CEOs, they all say the same thing. America is back and America is hot. And it has everything to do with President Trump's policies and everything to do with the expectations of where things are going. Look, very few people expected a 3% quarter that we just got in the GDP. And now you're seeing hundreds of billions of dollars come back invested in America because President Trump is doing these deals. He's doing tax deals, trade deals, peace deals, and it's working. You're seeing it. People are feeling better about things. And I think even skeptics of President Trump's policies in the past are coming around. Everybody that I speak with.
Well, there's Maria Bartiromo. She thinks that Trumponomics has good genes. Let's see what Dave Hebert thinks. At Dave_Hebert, Senior Research Fellow at the American Institute for Economic Research. He joins us now in the light of some big economic news, some good, some very bad, and the Fed pause this week. We have a lot to talk about. Dave, what do you think? Is Maria Bartiromo having a little romance there with Trumponomics that is not ready for prime time, or is she spot on?
Well, I mean, there's certainly been a lot. And as someone who's just coming off of 2 weeks of vacation time, holy moly, did I miss a lot while I was gone. Yeah, there are some things that certainly are better than we expected. I won't deny that. But to call this a victory or to even suggest that we're on the pathway toward, a better economic future, is certainly true in the sense that things generally get better. But it's not because of Trump. That's just because the American worker is so resilient to even the most audacious of government stupidity.
Yeah. Let's sort of chronologically unpack things, Dave. And I know I was out last week on a conference last weekend and missed a little bit too and was catching up. So, but let's go back. Let's start with though the big beautiful deal with the EU. Let's talk about that. And how now, the EU, they were brought to their knees and Trump had his way with them, and $650 billion promised for purchases from their companies, and they're going to buy our liquid natural gas. And every time I hear Howard Lutnick on Fox News, it's like, my God, the trillions and trillions are going to be coming in. Well, then you look at the details, and it turns out that the boss over there, the gal boss, got people in the room and CEOs of the European companies, and they all just did a sort of a nod their head. Everyone raise your hand if you're going to do more business with the U.S. There's nothing to say that those things are written in any contract. There's no real obligation. Is there, or is there?
There doesn't seem to be, but let me give you another interesting fact here. So the president is alleging that there is like this massive trade deficit with Europe that we need to correct, that he needs to correct, right? And insofar as that's true, right, all this new investment from Europe is literally going to increase the trade deficit. That is the definition of a trade deficit, is the net foreign investment. Now, most people carp about, exports minus imports, but the flip side of that is the net foreign investment. So by increasing net foreign investment into the U.S., all that he's done is increase the trade deficit, which is what he's trying to reduce. So this is just a ridiculous policy on its face. Now, looking at it in more detail, we see things like a 15% tariff on all mostly EU goods coming into the U.S. That includes cars. We also still have the 50% tariff on steel and aluminum. So, Randy, you tell me, if you could sell something to Americans and only pay a 15% tariff, or if you could sell something to Americans and pay a 50% tariff, which one would you pick, the 15 or the 50?
I think I can figure that out, even though it's early on a Saturday morning. Okay, I got you. I hear you. I'm with you. Go ahead.
You're going to go with the 15%, right? Well, okay, that's a car. So all this is going to do is encourage us as Americans to import more manufactured goods because of the lower tariff rate for imported goods than for input goods like steel and aluminum. So is he trying to lower the trade deficit? Sure. Is he going to succeed? No. the forward investment is going to increase the trade deficit. Is he trying to reshore manufacturing jobs? Yes. Is this trade deal going to do that? No. I would expect that we're going to start importing more cars out of Europe and less steel and aluminum. Now, if we have less steel and aluminum, guess what? We get to make less manufactured goods. And so this whole trade deal is counter to the very goals that the president is trying to achieve with these trade deals.
All right, so let's go. Boy, you just really hit a chord that Jerome and I were talking about beforehand. As I'm getting up this morning and pouring the coffee and getting ready for our talk, I see this top of the fold story in the Wall Street Journal from yesterday, Dave. And we're talking with Dave Hebert from the American Institute of Economic Research, and he has a great Substack. It's just simply Dave Hebert Econ at the Substack. Go ahead and subscribe. I subscribe, and you have a really great, nice summary of all the various topics that we're going to cover here in your most recent posting. So, top of the fold story of the Wall Street Journal yesterday: Ford Motor Company is like, wait a minute, what did we do wrong? We produce more cars domestically than any other manufacturer, and now, for the very reasons that you state, Dave, we're going to have to pay more for aluminum. I think 50% tariffs on some of their aluminum providers. So our cost is going to go up of producing, and you're encouraging more foreign competition, foreign car competitors to sell their stuff here. And I thought, if you're the Ford CEO executive and you donated a lot to the Trump campaign because you thought this was going to work out well, how are you feeling this morning? I mean, am I misstating it, or is that the truth?
No, I think you're exactly right. And General Motors just came out with a similar, sentiments. Now, look, on Trump's 100th day, he held a rally in Michigan, which just so happens to be my home state. And the automotive industry happens to be near and dear to me because my dad was a car parts manufacturer and salesman for his entire career. And his dad was a steel worker in Bay City, Michigan, working his way up to owning the steel company after World War II. So look, manufacturing in Michigan is in my blood, and it's something that I care about far more than just like spreadsheets out of the BLS. So when you say things like, hey, I'm going to make sure that manufacturing in Michigan is taken care of, my ears perk up because that's something that I care a lot about. And Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis are all reporting reduced profit this quarter, citing the tariffs and the increased cost of manufacturing. Now, look, you don't have to be an economist to point out that when costs go up, people produce less. And when you're making less stuff, you need fewer workers. What do you do with the workers that you don't need anymore? Well, you're not going to keep them on payroll. You're going to lay them off. And now we're getting into sort of what's going on with the jobs report that's come out, all those revisions and everything. So none of this is a surprise to anyone who understands even just basic economics. And by basic, I mean stuff that I covered for 12 years as an economics professor in my principles of macroeconomics courses. So this isn't something that you have to go to graduate school to understand. This is something that you just got to wake up in undergrad and go to class to understand.
Well, now, I think we should make it crystal clear, Dave, that you are not a progressive, woke, Mamdani contributing liberal economist. I mean, you're a free market and this is why I think this is such a rich discussion, because just yesterday I attended an event with the chief economist of the President's National Council of Economic Advisors, who would also say he's a free market guy too. And so I find this interesting, and I guess this is really what's cool about, academics and different points of view. But what's the best argument for how we're not going to see the other shoe drop? As you and other, I think, conservative people, I heard Charles Gasparino say, well, so far, okay, it's been sort of a soft landing. We're seeing things looking pretty good. But even Charlie Gasparino, I think we'd all agree, is a big pro free market guy. And he's not necessarily an economist, but he's on the same side of the fence as we are. Where are the Trump, absolutely Trump MAGA economists who are rah? Where are they going wrong with their analysis of the tariffs? Are they celebrating too early, spiking the ball too early? Is there another shoe and it's beginning to drop or not?
Yeah, look, it's always interesting to me To your first point, when people say to me like, "Hey, Dave, how are you on this, program as some progressive economist or whatever?" And then I always respond with, "Yeah, I better call up Hillsdale College, my alma mater, and tell them that they graduated a progressive so they can rescind my degree." Right? There's no way that you can get away with calling me some sort of a Democrat or a progressive in any sense of the word. Really, I'm just pro-American worker. I'm not anti-tariff. Right. I'm just pro-American worker. And as it turns out, tariffs hurt the American worker. So I'm going to be anti-tariff. Now, in terms of, where the other shoe's going to drop. Now, look, it is the case that imports are only about 11% of our overall economy. That figure is a bit misleading because it does not include things like intermediate goods like steel and aluminum. But, it still is the case that imported goods are just not a huge amount for our overall economy. So even if you wreck our international trade business in terms of access to goods and services, you're really not going to completely destroy, everything in the U.S., which is why we can get a smooth landing even when we have just sheer stupidity coming out of Washington these days.
Yeah. Is there something to be said and we've talked about this before, but I mean, in the context of the taco behavior that is undeniably partially true, if not wholly true, depending on which market you're talking about. Do you basically have any problem with some low level, even Steven tariffs? I mean, if they're charging us 10%, 15%, we charge them 15%. Is that, in light of what you just said, that the magnitude of any impact would not be that dramatic, that sort of a leveling type of a tariff? Is that something that you could tolerate, or are you a zero tariff guy?
So, I mean, look, I think a zero tariff is the ideal, but if you're going to have tariffs, the important thing is twofold. One is that they're low, on the order of like 1% to 3%, right? And the second is that they're consistent, right? Not that they're changing every day, not that you can get around them by, shipping a laptop that has rare earth minerals and batteries in it, but you can't, ship rare earth minerals and batteries separately, right? As long as there's like consistent across the board, very low tariffs designed just to raise a little bit of revenue, I'm not going to be up in arms about it. It's not really going to be that effective. It's going to end up just taxing the American people, 1% to 3%. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. I'm not going to go march on Washington over it, right? There's bigger fish to fry than a 1% to 3% tariff. But when you start getting in the range of 15, 20, 35, 50, right? Now all of a sudden you are actually affecting manufacturing, which is an important sector, right? And so that's where I'm going to start getting, really perturbed. And then when you add on top of that, changing the tariff rate, every week, right? Now I'm going to get even more perturbed and I'm going to get even more impassioned about this. So what we have right now is far less than ideal. What we had before was an average tariff rate of like 2.5%. Cool. If you want to go back to that, I think that'd be great. In fact, there was a great point that I saw about the Japan deal. Oh no, it was the EU deal. I apologize. Where, imagine for a minute that we could get, very low tariffs on U.S. exports to Europe, like 1%, basically perfectly balanced bilateral trade with the EU. Imagine that companies were allowed to operate freely in Europe, earning hundreds of billions of dollars per year in profits. And imagine that European corporations are investing $150 billion per year, right? Not in loans, in actual investment. Imagine if we could walk away with that deal right now. Most people would say, that sounds awesome. And I'm here to tell you that that's the deal we had in 2024. On paper, that's exactly what it was. And now what we have is less than that. So what I want to see is progress, opening up markets. What we're seeing is kind of some progress in some areas, but on that, really just shutting the American economy out from the rest of the world.
Yeah. What do you make of the statement? It wasn't really wasn't heralded very much, but at the end of her statement where she basically said, this is the head of the EU. Well, look, come August 1st, we're going to have a worse deal, so we better take what we can get. So I had to do what I had to do, basically. And then she said, but it also gives us an opportunity to open up other markets. And I've heard this from other leaders around the world when the draconian tariffs have been placed on them, much more than the EU. It's like, hey, if America doesn't want our goods, we'll find other places. Is that something? Is that just them speaking to their own audience? Is that just some saber rattling, or is that something that should concern administration officials like Donald Trump and Harold Lutnick and Scott Bessent?
Well, I think it should absolutely concern, trade officials in the U.S., right? So the fact of the matter is there's 174 other countries in the world. And when one country, like the U.S., basically makes it harder to trade with us, right, what you're going to see is other countries going elsewhere. Not unlike if the local schnooks says, hey, Randy, if you want to come in here, you got to give us $20. You might do that the first time when you walk into the grocery store, right? Just because you didn't know about the $20 charge to walk in the store. But then you're going to go down the street and go to a different grocery store next week. So if you're going to push people away, don't be surprised when they walk away. We saw this with China, actually. A lot of people were making a lot of big claims about how Chinese exports to the U.S. were down, 20, 40. I saw some estimates as high as 60%. What very few people talked about was how Chinese exports to the entire world during that period were actually up almost 10%. And so this just reflects the idea that if the U.S. isn't going to be the buyer, someone else will. And every country has access to every other country too. So it's hard for me to say, hey, let's try to, bully our way into better trade deals when other countries can just walk away. What we should be doing is just offering bilateral reductions in trade restrictions, saying things like, hey, I'll make it easier for you guys to sell your stuff to us. You make it easier for us to sell our stuff to you, and we'll all be better off. That would be a great trade deal.
We're talking with Dave Hebert from the American Institute of Economic Research. His own Substack is a great place for you to hang out as well. And on X at Dave_Hebert. Well, let's talk about national security and tariffs. What, from an economic standpoint, I think we'd all admit, and this is an argument that is made by even conservative economists, other conservative economists that say, hey, look, when it comes to pharmaceuticals, when it comes to those special magnets that we need for our evolving electric economy, and when it comes to those precious rare earth metals, hey, we cannot let China principally hold us hostage because of the previous tariff policy, which you said was a good one, Dave. Generally the environment wasn't bad. Let's put it that way. We've got to protect those industries for our national security. We can't just have them turn off the spigot because through economic realities they own those markets. Is there an economic way other than tariffs to protect domestic production, alternative markets? How do we deal with those realities? I know the pharmaceutical reality really. I felt and protect personal protective equipment. I think your wife knows that well from COVID. We were really caught with our pants down. How do we answer that from an economic policy standpoint, if not with tariffs?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. And I will never say that there is no use of tariffs, period, end of story. National defense is a great example of a potential positive use of tariffs. The challenge I have is that most people who jump to the tariff conclusion, right away, they never think about alternatives and they never think about unintended consequences. So the alternative here would be, what if it's the case that lowering barriers to trade actually promotes national defense better than raising barriers to trade? Now, I'm not saying that there's any empirical research out there right now on whether that's true or not, but what I am saying is that we owe it to ourselves to at least go through that thought exercise to figure out if that's true. Because if it is, then we should do that in the very name of national security, right? We should always do what we need to do to promote national security, okay? The second one is, once you admit that one industry deserves protection for national security reasons, you open up the door to other industries making similar claims. Now, some of those are going to be legitimate, but I think we can all agree that there's no real national security risk to a bunch of American teenagers watching Japanese manga instead of American-made films. But that's what the president alleged just a few months ago when he wanted to place a tariff on foreign-made films, was that this was a national security issue. Now, if you're going to go after, foreign companies for spreading propaganda through media, I just want to direct your attention to Captain Planet from the 1980s, and just let me know what you think about that one, whether that was propaganda or not.
All right. Dave, I know that I hope you have a big pot of coffee, and the answer to can you stay another segment is yes, because we haven't talked about why did the GDP go from negative to positive, and does it have something to do with what we talked about last time, trade and how they calculate trade balances and how that contributes, and the jobs numbers, and talk a little bit more about that. Can you give me another segment?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do that as we talk with Dave Hebert, because this is important, guys. I mean, this is going to and is already impacting our personal finances, not just our national security and our national finance and economy too. So we'll continue our conversation with Dave Hebert in just a few. Keep it here on News Talk STL 1019 94.1, The Randy Tobler Show.
Very superstitious. Writings on the wall.
Doctor, you have an unsurpassed talent for understatement.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Snooze Mattress Company is open, and the deals are hot. Save up to $725 on Serta, $600 on Stearns & Foster, and $1,350 off Puffy, plus 0% Wells Fargo financing. Then join us Saturday, August 2nd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for our grand opening celebration. We're giving away $30,000 in mattresses, including a $15,000 Tempur-Pedic. We'll have $5 mattresses, food, fun, and prizes all day. Shop now, party Saturday. If you don't snooze, you lose.
Jamie Allman here with the refi and debt consolidation magician, Jordan Rosenblum. Google the bagel loan. Jordan, tell me about it.
Well, Jamie, with inflation high, credit card debts all-time highs, let's look at a cash-out refinance on your home. With our bagel loan, we're going to have no title fees. We're going to have no lender fees, no appraisal fees. This will help your overall cash flow mightily. It's the time to do it. Jump on now while you can. We can always refinance when rates drop. Bagel loan all day.
314-442-9570 or Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
How do you find a roofing contractor you can trust? You could randomly pick one and cross your fingers. Or here's a better idea. Choose Expert Group Contracting. We're proud to use America's most trusted roofing brand, Owens Corning. That means we've been screened for reliability, professionalism, and customer service. Residential or commercial roofing, licensed, insured, and offering free estimates. Why take chances on your roof? Visit expertgroupcontracting.com. That's expert with an X, groupcontracting.com.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, I don't know about you, but I love learning about national and international issues here on News Talk STL. But do you know what's going on in your neck of the woods, your city, your county, and its politics? If you live in Jefferson County and want to know more about what's happening locally, join Speaker Tim Jones and me, Councilman Billy Crow, as we dive into all things Jefferson County on Sundays at high noon on Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
On News Talk STL.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you're testing your blood sugar 4 or more times per day, injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetic Health Hotline today.
800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380. Paid for by U.S. Med.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
This is Larry Connors. Right now, you're listening to Dr. Randy Tobler. Informative, engaging, enjoy. And I invite you to listen to the Larry Connors USA Daily Report, Monday through Friday at 6.
Welcome back into the program as we roll along on this Saturday morning with Dave Hebert. And from time to time, we get together with Dave as the roller coaster that is Trumponomics rolls on. A down swoon in the markets this week after riding high previously for a while. A lot of uncertainty, I think, out there driving that. And we have some questions coming through on social media and by phone. Jerome's going to aggregate that and ask you, though, try to put that into a nice little package for you, Dave. But what about the GDP number out on Wednesday? Huge number, a total reversal, 3% down from negative, 0.6% or something in the first quarter. What's driving it? What's it mean? A blip or not?
Yeah, so look, the first quarter GDP was negative 0.6%, okay? So that means that actual output declined, right? And that's a big deal. It's not just because of, increased imports. That's not true. Imports cancel out in GDP calculations. So it's not imports. That was actual decreases in output during the first 3 months of this year. The second 3 months, though, the second set of 3 months, we saw rising GDP, 3%. That's an incredible growth rate. Now, that's an annualized growth rate, so it's not like GDP increased by 3% in just those 3 months, right? That says that if it continued for a full year, the growth rate would be 3%. So what's the explanation here? So think about the first 3 months, right? What we saw was basically every week new tariffs be announced and implemented or promised in the very near future called Liberation Day. That's going to scare markets quite a bit. And we saw that. In the second quarter, what did we see? Well, we saw a trade war with China, but that quickly got canceled. And the rest of the time, though, we saw just delays, revisions, reductions, and extensions of tariff deadlines. So you tell me, when you've got 3 months of threatening new tariffs and you see declining GDP, and 3 months of basically lowering tariffs and reducing tariffs and increasing trade access to other markets, the GDP grows. So to me, this GDP report was a clear victory for the pro-free market, the anti-tariff movement, right? It was basically to say, look, you tried implementing tariffs, the economy tanked. You rescinded tariffs, the economy soared. Why don't we follow the pattern that even my 6-year-old can understand and just reduce tariffs even more in the third quarter?
Okay, good. That's a great explanation. Hey, it looks like Steve is on the line. Let's take Steve's call quickly, Steve. We only have a couple minutes, and then we do need to talk about the labor numbers yesterday. Go ahead quickly, Steve.
Great. Yeah, outstanding discussion. My question is about those two numbers, big numbers that came out this week or last week. The GDP growth of 3%, inflation rate of 2%. Now, by my fundamental mathematical skills, that indicates that 2/3 of that 3% growth was inflation. So we only actually had 1% real growth.
Okay.
Could you comment,
All right.
verify that,
Thanks.
or tell me if
Thanks.
I'm off base somewhere? Thanks.
Yeah, so a lot of those figures are going to be inflation adjusted, but there's real difficulty in adjusting for inflation in the short term, right? And so Steve is exactly right. The 3% growth is overstating it because of the inflation rate, but it's not quite as simple as just 3 minus 2 equals 1. That's the general equation. He's exactly right, and it's encouraging to hear that, but it's a little bit tricky just based on inflation calculations in the short term on a month-to-month basis.
All right, we have to talk about the jobs numbers. I heard more than one entrepreneur on the Talking Head channels talking about, hey, no one's going to invest in workers. We may not lay them off, but we're certainly not going to invest in new workers or plants that need workers when we don't know what the landscape is. And you referenced that in the previous segment, Dave. And then we saw abysmal numbers and a serious downgrading and of previously pretty good numbers in the jobs market. What does that tell us? Is that a lagging indicator, as I've heard, or can it be a forecasting indicator?
So there's a couple things to point out here in the time we've got left. So first off, last week, Scott Bessent went on national television and said that American corporations are eating the tariffs in the form of reduced profits. Okay, now, you don't have to be an economist to point out that when corporations have lower profits, they're going to reduce output and they're going to reduce employment. Okay, so Scott Bessent's already set the stage for this a week ago. Now, if you look at the BLS reports, and I encourage people to actually look at the BLS report and not just the news headlines, because the report itself has something very special next to a lot of the new numbers. The numbers have this weird symbol called a P, and that P stands for preliminary, which means that it's an estimate and it's going to be revised over the next 3 months. Okay, so the fact that we saw a revision is not surprising. We see revisions all the time. Every single month, there's a revision for the previous 2 months' numbers, right? And that's just because in the first wave, what the BLS will do is it will send a survey out to companies and say, hey, how many people do you expect to hire over the next month, right? That's the guess. And so companies submit their reports back. And then the BLS in the middle of the month will say, hey, how many employees have you actually hired so far this month? And then finally, after the month ends, they'll send another survey and say, how many employees did you actually hire this month? And it's going to take time for them to collate all those numbers and all that data. But what you have with those preliminary estimates that come out is an estimate based on some statistical techniques that are all publicly available. So the BLS is very transparent in their methodology. Anyone can go and look at exactly how they arrived at every single number and critique it, right? So it's not a secret. You know, it's not like the Fed meeting minutes where we get just the minutes, but we don't get the discussion around the table, right? This is a completely open secret about how the BLS gets their numbers. So that we saw these revisions is not surprising, right? That they were in the downward direction is also not surprising, given what Scott Bessent said and given what President Trump said just a few months ago, that Walmart needs to eat the tariffs. Now, if it were the case that foreign companies or foreign countries were paying the tariffs, there would be nothing for American firms to eat. Other countries would be eating them. And so the fact that we saw these downward revisions is not surprising. This is the inevitable result of trying to tariff your way to success.
So we can only expect so many sales of Vail and, Coronado properties as second and third homes of the CEOs before it starts having an impact on everyday people, right? Okay.
Right.
Trump is talking about the numbers being fake, phony, fraud, and he's going to fire the BLS chief. What say you?
This is just an absolute travesty. So people are forgetting that this is the exact same BLS chief that 1 year ago released the 818,000 downward revision that basically tanked the Biden-Harris administration ahead of the election. This is the same person that released that report, right? And so to call this person politically motivated is just laughable, right? There are so many checks and balances and procedural norms within the BLS. I happen to be really good friends with a former BLS commissioner. I used to work for him when I was with the Senate Budget Committee. So he and I chatted all the time. And here's the thing. Even if the commissioner of the BLS wanted to change the numbers in the reports, there's so many checks and balances within that organization that it's basically impossible. The simple fact here, and I don't like to say this, but the simple fact is that President Trump saw numbers that he didn't like and just fired the person who told the numbers. This is shooting the messenger, and it's really just a sad travesty.
Well, Dave Hebert, I dub you a truth warrior of the round table of truth knights for the Tobler Show, because that's what I thought, and you are now knighted as a truth warrior, which I know you already have many of those accolades, but we gotta keep our own side honest, right? Okay, hey, thanks, Dave. Can't wait to talk to you again, brother. Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Randy.
All right, there it is. We'll be back with more of the Tobler Show as we talk with Patrice Onwuka next hour.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888 0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Planning your next adventure? Head to Landell EE Clothing Store in Wentzville and gear up for less. Whether you're hitting the beach or the slopes, we've got you covered at prices that won't break the bank. Find us at 12680 Veterans Memorial Parkway, just west of Highway A off I-70. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Landell EE, where adventure meets affordability. Stop by today and discover the bargains waiting for you.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention NewsTalkSTL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention NewsTalkSTL for 10% off.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Hey, Jamie Ullman here with my common sense brother, Rob Very, owner of STL Bath and Renovation. And let me tell you something, your home is your castle, but so is your bathroom. Rob, how can you make it beautiful?
Jamie, if you're tired of cleaning, you love the tile, but you hate the grout, we can give you man-made or natural stone in your bathroom for your floors and walls, but no grout. Easy to maintain.
And beautiful. All kinds of selections as well.
More than you can count.
STLBR.com, St. Louis Bath and Renovation, STLBR.com. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Jamie.
The Vic Borselli Show.
This is the actual precedent set why Bernie Sanders cannot have a 32-hour work week.
The Department of Labor wishes to report that the workers of Fredonia are demanding shorter hours.
Very well, we'll give them shorter hours. We'll start by cutting their lunch hour to 20 minutes.
Where's Fredonia?
Oh, it's right.
K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Any reports that Israel is causing a famine inside Gaza? Nothing more than a disinformation campaign by the Hamas terrorist group itself, which is actually holding up UN food deliveries, demanding to be in complete control of that process. A Miami jury decided this week Tesla has to pay $243 million in an autopilot crash case.
In 2019, in Key Largo, Florida, a Tesla with autopilot driver assist technology hit a vehicle on a dark rural road with a young couple out gazing at the stars. A woman was killed. Her boyfriend was injured. The plaintiff's lead lawyer acknowledged the driver of the Tesla was negligent, admitting he was looking for a dropped cell phone. The federal jury held Tesla bore significant responsibility because its technology failed and that not all the blame can be put on a reckless driver. Tesla says the verdict is wrong. I'm Ed Donahue.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Summer is all about making great memories. Boy, I love getting out on the boat. I admit that one of my little joys in life is to get on a boat and ride around on Tampa Bay. But if you're living with pain, those future memories can be stolen from you. Here's a thought. Try Relief Factor. Let's see if we can get you out of pain. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement designed to help your body fight pain. It's a doctor-developed formula made of natural ingredients. The best part of all, Relief Factor never masks the pain. It helps reduce or even eliminate it for good. Whether it's doing what I do, whether it's kayaking on a lake, running around with the little ones, or just chilling in the hammock with a good book, Relief Factor can help you feel better, move better, and do more of the things you love all summer long. So if you're ready to reclaim your summer and make some amazing memories, head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 800-4-RELIEF, 800-4-RELIEF. Do it now and get their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. That number again, 1-800-4-RELIEF, 800-4-RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
Keith Peters reports you need to be concerned about one energy drink.
Energy drinks that mistakenly contain vodka are being recalled in more than a half dozen states.
High Noon is recalling 2 production lots of High Noon Beach variety packs because some contain cans with vodka inside that were mislabeled as Celsius Astro Vibe energy drink. The company says the cans contain vodka seltzer and were mislabeled as sparkling blue Raz flavored Celsius Astro Vibe energy drinks. The packs were distributed to retailers in Florida, New York, Ohio, South Carolina, Virginia, and Wisconsin. Keith Peters, Washington.
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting will begin taking steps toward its own closure after being defunded by the U.S. Senate. The demise of the corporation, known as CPB, is a direct result of the president targeting as part of the rescission package. Mr. Trump has called the CPB a monstrosity. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. White House Press Secretary.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
You want the best place to watch baseball or any sport and be able to enjoy premium cigars and whiskeys? Lit Cigar Lounge. Lit has so many events each month. You need to constantly check the Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook. You don't want to miss anything. Plus, you can order food from Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, delivered within minutes right to your table. By the way, we're in the season for great patio dining. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta has your table waiting.
Hey, firearms enthusiast, looking for a family and veteran-owned shop with a wide selection of products and services? Head to DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green. DG Firearms has been your one-stop shop for custom ARs, Cerakoting, laser engraving, gunsmithing, suppressors, ammo, and reloading supplies. DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green, and online at dgfirearmsllc.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
With every Larry Connors USA program, you're going to get news, analysis, opinion, and education.
Larry Connors USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8
on News Talk STL.
It's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and you are listening to Randy Tobler right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Why? Because you're awesome.
Well, welcome back into the program as we continue to talk economy, because I think it is on everyone's mind, whether you're buying groceries, putting gas in your car, maybe having to buy that washer, dryer, washing machine, or whatever it is, going out to a restaurant. It's affecting all of us. And joining us now is Patrice Onwuka. She, of course, is the director of the Center for Economic Opportunity at the Independent Women's Forum at IWF.org. Patrice, welcome into the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, so I've been reading some of your work, your blogs here, and there were 5 things to watch this week. You wrote that earlier in the week. And then, of course, yesterday, these things unfolded. Let's start with the GDP number on Wednesday. Looked pretty good. We just got done talking with Dave Hebert, economist from the American Institute for Economic Research. He's a little concerned about tariffs. He said, he thinks there may be another shoe to drop. The GDP number reversed, though, quarter over quarter. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I was really encouraged by two things in the GDP report, which is that consumer spending rebounded. I think it was up 1.3% or something like that, which tells me people have gotten out there this summer and springtime, booking the tickets, doing the trips that they'd been delaying, worried about tariffs. And so that was a good signal. We also saw, the change in imports and exports. That was actually a sign, because I think in the first quarter, you saw so many companies rush and import a lot of goods, negatively impact the gross domestic product, which is interesting. But we saw that pull back again in the second quarter. So the economy grew at a robust 3% rate, and that's a good thing. We want to continue to see the economy continue to chug along.
Do you have concerns that with now, some of the Mexico tariff kick in has been extended? Some bigger tariffs kick in yesterday on heels of the Japan deal. It's going to be easier for Japanese imports to come into America now. The tariffs are lower. Does that uncertainty, bother you? The fact that it seems to be a winners and losers, not only with foreign markets, but also with industries. Ford Motor Company's upset because their aluminum materials are going to be tariffed at 50%, and here they are trying to produce more domestically than any other car manufacturer. It's a bit topsy-turvy, no?
It is. There are winners and losers. And here in the American economy, though, a lot of farmers and meat producers are going to be big winners, because suddenly they're going to be able to export their products and their produce to other countries. What's interesting about the tariff, holding aside the different tariff rates, is the fact that, the president and his administration are going after those non-tariff barriers. Get harder. These are hoops that countries install to make it hard for U.S. companies to your goods there. So you're talking about licensing. You're talking about labels on food products that really have nothing to do with the quality or the care and the production of the goods. It's a way to keep U.S. goods out of those markets. Now, does that not mean that some American companies will be harmed? No, it doesn't. I do think that there's some companies who are going to have to figure things out. You talked about there are other companies that are now realizing they're not have a corner in the market, but you're also seeing a balancing, if you think about it, because there's been such I call it an asymmetry, where countries, they have very high tariffs for U.S. goods, and we've allowed it for so long. And so now there's kind of a rebalancing. This is going to be a long-term process. This is not going to be done one and done once a deal is inked. So it's some time, but I'm actually less concerned about the tariffs than I think I was a year ago, or even in the previous Trump administration.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear, and I think a lot of us at least are glad that there hasn't been any major disruption in terms of our personal finances. But when you think about it, Patrice, and I know you have been a real ambassador and of the gig economy, especially when it comes to women maybe who want to stay home with their kids, but still have a side gig, or, older folks who want to just work part-time. And there were a lot of things that I think the Biden administration and progressive policy in general was really just against that. They wanted to make everyone an employee and, report when not speak until spoken to. What are you seeing in terms of the big budget bill, the general economic policies, the landscape for gig workers, part-time workers, resilient American workers?
Well, number one, the fact we saw a bad jobs yesterday, which tells me that there are a lot of people who are going to be looking for ways to make money. And the good thing coming out of Washington is that we have both the president and also Republicans in charge right now who've introduced legislation in the House, and hopefully a companion bill coming in the Senate, to ensure that the high hurdles that the Biden administration implemented will be overturned, and that the previous Trump rule is much easier to understand. And frankly, to keep your independent status, those were federal law. We saw one of the bills passed out of committee last week or so. And hopefully, I'm looking for a floor vote. Tip of that to Representative Kevin Kiley and California, who's led the charge there. And we see a lot of great support for that bill in this House. At the same time, President Trump's his Department of Labor, they've said, you know what, we are not going to enforce the Biden rule. It was going to be a heavy-handed approach and would have frankly forced the reclassification. You know, a lot of people who are independent, your bookkeepers, your video editor, you know, all of those individuals who are self-employed, gig workers, freelance, they probably would have lost their independent status under the Biden rule. And so the administration is saying we're not going to enforce it. And I think either we can look forward to them looking at what Congress with this bill I mentioned, or they themselves implementing a new rule. But at the end of the day, it's really important for Congress, to be able to say, you don't have this ping pong ball across different administrations over what happens to our self-employed entrepreneurs in this country.
Well, and that's the thing, like you referenced, I think, you know, and until the dust settles on the tariff environment, and I think at some point it probably will, and hopefully the nearer rather than the farther future, a lot of people are going to be looking for work, or they're not going to be getting a raise, but yet look, no matter what Donald Trump said, I think it was a misstatement. We sort of know to calibrate that now, but he was saying how prices are going to get lower. I don't think anyone expects that. We just like to see them not get any higher. But, you know, I mean, things are expensive and people are going to have to find ways to do that. And I think this ability for people to start small businesses, to work in small businesses. We saw some flexibility in the provision of healthcare insurance. I work in the healthcare field, do a direct primary care practice starting January 1st. If a person has a HSA with a high deductible plan, they can pay their membership with that now. And so we're seeing a lot of that regulatory I think, lubrication of the regulatory environment. Are you happy with the deregulatory depth and pace so far? Would you like to see more?
Oh, I'm really happy. We're seeing regulations cut at a rate of 10 on. So 10 regulations out for every one in. This surpasses the previous Trump administration level. And, you know, it has real impact for our wallets. You're talking about over $2,000 on average, say, for family of four in this country because of the ending of those regulations. And obviously, the one big beautiful bill, not only ensuring that our tax rates stay low like they are right now, but the no tax on tips, the no tax on your car loan interest, you know, the no tax on overtime. These are ways that they're encouraging people to work more and not penalizing you for what the good work you do, the good service you have. And for those seniors, there's that new deduction that they're able to take. So that's also a way for them to keep more of their income. And I can even go on about the small business deductions, the corporate full expecting. I think once the One Beautiful Bill takes full effect, you're going to see a strong economic boom, which I hope would be a really counter to any negative forces coming out of the tariffs or other areas.
You know, way too many households in America are led by women, single women trying to make their way in what was a very difficult economy right now. There's no doubt about it. Costs are up. We're not going to see deflation. We don't really want to see deflation. That would mean a disaster in our macroeconomic scene. But and many of those women get help from government programs. I'm thinking of Medicaid particularly. And we saw in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that really an attempt to maintain Medicaid for those who need it and have it be a hand up rather than a handout, you know, forever and ever. Are you happy with maybe what I hear coming out of the Trump administration is even bigger plans for people not to be punished? Many people are punished with various social support programs. When they step up and they make a raise, suddenly they're not, it's like an all or nothing. The faucet's turned off all the way.
Yeah.
Are you seeing some movement in that range so that people can climb out of poverty and not be punished for working and doing that climb?
Well, I'm hopeful that in future, I've whispers in Washington here that there's going to be another potential bill similar to the One Big Beautiful Bill, smaller. And so hopefully we'll see some more of those changes to address that benefits cliff. That's what they call it, where, you know, you work a little bit more and suddenly you're entirely cut off. You know, I do think there can be ways to transition folks, maybe an extended period of time, or, you know, thinking about the other supports that may be needed if you're a mom, you want to work, but you have childcare may be an issue if your children are not in school full time. So I think there's some tweaks that could be made there. But I will tell you, we don't need over 1 million people here illegally accessing Medicare, Medicaid benefits. That's wrong. And the beautiful bill fixed that. We need people who are able, who can work, who are young, who are don't have children, who are choosing not to work because they get Medicaid. No, I think the one big beautiful bill, when that vision takes effect, you're going to see people nudge back into the labor force, and that's a good thing, not for taxpayers and the budget, but it's a good thing for those individuals because they can gain the skills, they can gain the experience, so that in the long term they are not stuck in a poverty trap and dependent on the government. So listen, I'm all for the right sizing of Medicaid. I actually wrote about it recently, but this was the one big beautiful bill is a good step in that direction. People should not listen to fear mongering from the left. The people this is not about taking Medicaid from people who are pregnant moms, who are poor children, who are disabled. It's about ensuring that if you can work, you are able to work and you're getting a nudge to do so.
All right. Well, a vote for Trumponomics and the way things are unfolding so far from Patrice Onwuka. And I really I enjoy all of the great stuff that you and your colleagues are doing at the Center for Economic Freedom at Independent Women's Forum. Keep up the great work. Look forward to our next conversation as this big, great experiment called Trumponomics. I think it's fun to watch, and so far, so good. Thanks very, very much, Patrice.
Thank you.
All right, there she is, Patrice Onwuka. When we come back, all right, we've got to talk about this. We got to talk about the Sydney Sweeney thing. And I just about when I thought that woke was dead, I guess it isn't. It's still breathing. Let's see if we can't just harpoon it through the heart when we come back on the Randy Tobler Show. Stay tuned.
My baby loving cause the sun to shine, and she's my sweet little thing. She my pride and joy. She my sweet little baby. I'm a little lover boy.
Are you being intentionally dense?
Huh? I love my baby.
This is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
Questions.
There have been some 850 rescues.
Are we raising the right ones?
The Trump administration is making deep cuts to weather forecasting.
You have to look at the Doge-Trump cuts.
Will we ever get answers?
Nobody there has said anything about that they didn't get everything that they wanted immediately or that they needed.
St. Louis's place to talk about it.
What happened? Why did it happen?
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Would you like to win a full season of mosquito and tick protection? Tim Jones here, the new Mosquito Nix team in St. Louis, celebrating their launch with a bite-free backyard sweepstakes. One lucky family will get their entire yard protected. 10 others will get a free fogging treatment just for entering. Call 636-698-1980 now to enter. 636-698-1980. Keep your yard safe and your summer itch-free. Service area restrictions do apply. Mosquito Nix offers permanent, automatic mosquito and tick protection. It's not just fogging, it's real coverage you don't have to think about. They've already helped over 40,000 families nationwide take back their yards with their automatic mosquito control system. Visit mosquitonix.com to learn more. That's mosquitonix.com, 636-698-1980 to enter the backyard sweepstakes. Keep your yard safe, your summer bite free, 636-698-1980.
Looking for excitement, fun, and delicious food for the whole family? Piccadilly Parwan has it all. Savor our scratch-made dishes. Nothing frozen. Every bite a true delight. Roll into fun at Piccadilly Palace for roller skating or race your heart out at Piccadilly Kart Racing. Join us for happy hour Monday through Friday, 4 till 6. Free select appetizers and drink specials. And don't miss our mouth-watering Sunday family dinners. Piccadilly Parwan on Audrey Lane in Union, Missouri, or online at piccadillypar1.com.
When precision matters, trust the experts who live and breathe firearms. Full Circle Reloading and Firearms. Veteran owned and operated by competitive shooters who know what it takes to win. From reloading supplies and accessories to custom rifles and cutting-edge night vision, we've got everything you need. Plus, get precision rifle training from the pros. Full Circle Reloading and Firearms. 923 South 5th Street in St. Charles, or visit FullCircleReloading.com.
Hey there, Tim Jones here. When life changes, you need someone you can trust. That's Todd Sivia. At Sivia Law, they're dedicated to helping you through all of life's transitions, specializing in estate planning and elder law. With 7 convenient locations in the area, expert guidance is always close by. Call 833-995-WILL, 833-995-WILL, or visit CiviaLaw.com. Don't forget, first 10 people that tell them Tim Jones sent me get a free $300 strategy session. Civia Law, helping you protect what matters most.
For over 50 years, Di Gregorio's Italian Market has been serving up a taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned and operated, nestled in the heart of the hill. From homemade sausage and meatballs to spadini, pizzas, pastas, and sauces, our wide variety of Italian specialties will transport your taste buds straight to Rome. For a truly authentic Italian shopping experience, visit your friends at Di Gregorio's. Shop local, shop Di Gregorio's Italian Market, where every bite tells a story.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
I couldn't sleep at all last night. Just thinking of you. Maybe things weren't right. When I was tossing and turning.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer. On News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
Time to check the pulse. We begin with the backlash over a new ad campaign featuring actress Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, the ads are for American Eagle, and the tagline is, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Now, in one ad, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress talks about genes as in DNA being passed down from her parents.
The play on words is being compared to Nazi propaganda with racial undertones.
The pun, good genes, activates troubling historical associations for this country. The American eugenics movement in its prime between like 1900 and 1940 weaponized the idea of good genes just to justify white supremacism.
Despite that backlash, American Eagle stock has been soaring.
Okay. So that was Robin Landa, who has written a bunch of books, I guess, on design and brands, and I don't understand. Clearly, I mean, she does look like someone who she probably goes to the tea room and listens to a lot of James Taylor. Yeah, I would think so. Just looking at her. I don't know. Probably listens to NPR. By the way, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is winding down by the first of next year. Did you see that? That's not going to break any of our hearts. Jerome, how didn't you love it that for years the American people were supporting with their tax money our competitors here on News Talk STL? And it couldn't go away any sooner. I mean, if public radio if there wants to be some general, totally, charity broadcast station, God love them. Go for it, But I'm glad to see that go away as an aside.
Yeah, there's something that feels fundamentally wrong about me coming in and doing my best to do the work that I do, and then having my taxes taken out of my check and then sent to people that are the fundamental opposite. And this comes I was a former NPR listener, and I was a former supporter of PBS, and I'm still sitting here saying, why am I paying for my competition? This doesn't make any sense.
You're right. And daughter Shannon, who has 3 kids, loves some of the stuff that Sesame Street does. And, when she's, occasionally wanting to maybe, prepare the meal or something, she'll set the kids in front of selective, TV. And I think those are great things, but so I'm sure that the corporations of America and people, if there's enough value, maybe Shannon will probably contribute to that. I don't know. We'll have to see. If people want it, they can do it. Maybe she can sponsor some of that programming on News Talk STL. We'll have her talk to management. We'll see if that'll happen. I don't know. All right. So about this, look, I think that Clarence Thomas has great genes. I think that one of my favorite trumpet players named Arturo Sandoval, who has great genes. I think you and I, in our own way, have genes. You know what? I have some patients that have unbelievable, you'd think they're taking Lipitor, great cholesterol genes. And just because I say that about those people, does that make me some type of a eugenicist? That I don't get it, but I don't understand where the left thinks they are coming from and what they're going to gain by calling a smart, clever advertising campaign like this some kind of Nazi, veiled threat. I don't get it.
So Corporeal Being makes a great point. So Planned Parenthood, which provides abortions for people, is fine, but Sydney Sweeney, that's eugenics.
Yeah.
And I agree entirely. I mean, so for comparison, because I thought it was a very clever pun, but there's a clothing brand that my younger brother really likes. It's called Supreme, and it's more of like an urban youth sort of clothing brand. So if Serena Williams, the tennis player, had done an advertisement wearing Supreme clothing saying Serena Williams got Supreme jeans on, there would not be this level of backlash. And again, to be an athlete, you do have to have there's a genetic factor. There's only so much training you can do. If you have polio, that you're not going to be a Usain Bolt level runner, right? But at the same time, I think that they're really running out of things to be actually outraged about. I mean, to be a model, to be an actor, to be somebody that is conventionally beautiful, not by everybody's standards, but by typical standards, she's more beautiful than the average person, myself included. You do have to, there's a genetic element to that. So I thought it was a very clever pun. And I think that if this is what you're grasping onto, if you are that desperate to find something to be outraged by, you just need to get a life. You need some friends, go outside, get some air, do something, because this is ridiculous.
I know. And now, Jerome, look, I have to tell you about something in the past that you're a young guy, you may not remember. And I know that when you're in the mall shopping, when you walk by the Victoria's Secret store, you never peer in. You always are heading over to the GameStop.
I try it all on, Dr. Tobler. I'm in there trying stuff on.
You go to the GameStop, you go to Annie's Pretzels. I know you. That's where you are in the mall. You never.
Wow, thanks.
But you'll remember there was a gal with great genes named Tyra Banks, right? The last time I checked, she was not blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and white, right? And I think we'd all agree she's an attractive woman, and she was a Victoria's Secret model. So just the empiric facts of what has been considered beautiful enough to make someone credentialed to be, to represent a brand has never been about solely blonde hair, blue-eyed, white-skinned women. I don't get it. I mean, and what's so bizarre is these people want to continue to paint the people I know in conservative land / libertarian land. And maybe I just don't know the right / self-proclaimed conservatives. They are the most anti-racist. I don't care what you look like, what disability you have, what physical attraction or favor you have. Just show me what you can do. They are the most non-racist people in the world. And that's why it looks so silly, so absurd, so frankly self-defeating for people on the left to try to paint that picture of conservatives. It doesn't help what they're doing at all. And especially when, frankly, certain people, maybe we can play a little bit of that later on, named Cory Booker, go absolutely crazy and make people on the left who happen to be of color look stupid. You got that? Did I put that clip on the clip sheet? We got Spartacus. I think we had Spartacus. Right? Play a little Spartacus. I don't think Cory Booker's showing off any good genes here, folks. He just doesn't work. I'm sorry. You heard him the other day in the well of the Senate, but it's a cry of desperation from the left. You have that?
Yep, I'm getting to it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. So look, for those of you on the left, if you want to criticize someone on the right, play it. Let's listen to Cory go crazy the other day.
Oh, one moment, we got the wrong thing open. Give me one second. I got
okay.
I got a lot of buttons going on.
That's okay. He went crazy on the Senate floor the other day, as he was wont to do. That's okay. That's okay. There he is. You got it?
Yep. I got it.
Yeah.
The gremlin. I chased the gremlins off.
Go ahead.
Draw lines. And when it comes to the safety of my state being denied these grants, that's why I'm standing here. Don't question my integrity. Don't question my motives. I'm standing for Jersey. I am standing for my police officers. I'm standing for the Constitution, and I'm standing for what's right. And dear God, if you want to come at me that way, you're going to have to take it up with me, because there's too much on the line right now in America.
Yeah, you're going to have to take it up with me.
Due process rights and freedom of the speech rights, and secret police are running around this country, picking people up off the streets who have a legal right to be here. There's too much going on in this country.
Doctor, you might need to give him something for his blood pressure there.
When are we going to stand together for principles that I just heard that we're agreed with? When are we going to stand together? If we don't stand
that was
as Democrats,
hilarious.
we deserve to lose.
Okay, so I just thought it was really fascinating when you compare. Now, you compare. Look, you can say what you want about, are we objectifying women? Are we, this? But the fact is, can anyone deny that whoever came up with that campaign, that ad campaign, was very clever. It's effective. We're talking about it. There will be young women and probably young men, maybe even older women and older men, who knows, going out and buying American Eagle jeans. There's nothing Nazi about it. It's called clever marketing, period.
I mean, if you have superior genes, you better rock them, right? I'm just saying. Is that too far? I'm sorry,
and
y'all.
and you contrast that to the desperate attempt to make a brand that Cory Booker continues to do from time to time, right? He called himself Spartacus during the judicial confirmation hearings of one or the other of the judges. I forget which one it was. Maybe was it Gorsuch or was it Kavanaugh? I don't know. I mean, come on. If you're going to make a brand, rely on something that is brand worthy. That's generally good advice. Acting like a crazed lunatic on the floor of the United States Senate is probably not the way to go. Now, that said, my wife did remind me, Jerome, she said, from time to time, Randy, you've gone on a rant that is somewhat resemblance of that. But I said, well, wait a minute, though. Righteous indignation in the right place at the right time, in the right format, is probably okay. I probably wouldn't do a rant like that on the floor of the Senate, Jerome. I would never do that. Of course, I'd never get there.
We'll get you there. You just got to start wearing American Eagle jeans. We'll get you there.
Yeah, well, I have jeans that are well appropriated for the radio. Good face jeans for the radio. All right. We're going to go to clip 4 because I don't know about y'all, but I remember dreading in younger days when I had to do the presidential fitness challenge or some semblance of that. Donald Trump amassed several things, DeChambeau, Triple H, and this guy, when he announced that he's going to reinstate the presidential fitness test. Listen.
Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to serve on the council. Just excited to do my part to help make America healthy again, to help our youth be healthy and thrive and grow up and be great citizens of this country and be great family members and contribute to this great country. And I think you have to be strong in mind, in body, and soul. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously.
Well, that was none other than Harrison Butker, who, of course, is the famed kicker for the Chiefs. Really great guy who got himself in a little bit of hot water. And I think many of you were applauding, as was I, when he talked about the traditional role of women and how important that is. Not that it's the only end all and be all. Remember when he gave that commencement speech at Notre Dame? No, it wasn't Notre Dame. It was, I think, was it Notre Dame? I think so. At any rate, and he, a lot of the women in the feminist movement were very appalled that he would bring that up. He's a man of deep faith. He wears it on his sleeve. And it was good to see. I am glad to see fitness coming back as a priority. I think it's important. Obama did away with those sort of school fitness tests under different names. And I think that may have been sort of part of the woke movement, Jerome. We're like, well, if you can't do that mile run, if you can't do those sit-ups, if you can't do, well, we're not going to shame you. That's shame if you can't. No, it's not shame. It's like, hey, it's a call to action. That's the way I always viewed it. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, back in December, I tried to announce that, I was going to do my part to make America healthy again by taking my own health more seriously. And to to my credit, I'm down about 30 pounds. I kind of plateaued there because of some life changes, and Mike
Good for
especially.
you.
I mean, Mike's got me back. I cannot let a 50-year-old man be in better shape than me. But yeah, maybe if you are doing things that are shameful, you should feel ashamed. Maybe So for me personally, because I was a gold medalist regional wrestler, and I wrestled for 10 years. I was a football player, and I had a very athletic build until I started letting myself go. At any point, if somebody said, "Hey, we're getting concerned because you're gaining a lot of weight, you're not taking as good of care of yourself," that might have been the wake-up call I needed to say, "Oh, maybe I need to reevaluate my decisions." There's nothing loving or passionate or compassionate about letting somebody destroy their own body. And so, yes,
That's right.
If you feel like you're being shamed because you are overweight or because you're not doing anything productive in your life, maybe you should feel ashamed. Maybe you should feel that embarrassment and use that and say, I don't have to live this way. I can change things about it. But if that's the way you want to be, I mean, just don't complain when people judge you for it, because not all judgment is good judgment, but sometimes your outer appearance is a reflective of who you are and what your character is.
No, you're right. And look, I think we all know if we're into a little bit of a nice groove of working out, and maybe that just means taking a brisk walk after dinner or whenever you want to during the day, getting your heart rate up, maybe getting some home weights. You have some little dumbbells. We have some nested weights that we use at home. Go to the gym if you like, do a workout at home, do some planks, and just do that for a week or two and think how clearer your mind thinks. You start thinking more conservatively, more traditionally, more values driven, more free market, more small government. No, not really. But I think you'll start clearing. Well, you probably will, because it will clear your mind and help you think more, more fact-based. Let's put it that way. But then compare that to how you feel when you're not on that kind of a tread. And it's really crazy how, it really does drive you to recognize how important it is. I was just telling Helene during the break, I said, I got to get out. I've been so darn busy. I haven't been able to get out and do much, workout wise. And I can feel it. You just feel tired rather than feel energetic. You feel a little more fog brain rather than clear minded. And there's increasing evidence that it has long-term, you can even reverse if you are having some early cognitive decline. I don't know. I think Joe may be on any recovery. Okay, let's exclude that extreme. But if you're feeling a little bit foggy, maybe you walk into the room and you forgot why you walked into the room. If you forget where you put your keys repeatedly, if you forget that you told the story to your kids yesterday and you tell it to them again today, at least as a trial, try to tune up the lifestyle, eat a little better, exercise a little bit more. You do not have to be Harrison Butker or Annika Sorenstam or, Triple H or, name your elite athlete. You don't have to be there. It does make a difference. And I'm glad that Trump is bringing that back. It's really good to see. Well, let's see what Virginia Kruta thinks about Russiagate, Obamagate, about the economy when we talk with her in just a moment as we roll along on the Randy Tobler Show on News Talk STL 1019 94.1. Glad you're here.
The clock downstairs was striking 4. Couldn't get you off my mind.
Randy Tobler.
It's my favorite show in the entire world.
This is News Talk STL.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are. And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
1019 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
This is Dr. Deloney with Simply Health, now available without a prescription. And this weekend, we have the man, the myth, the legend. We have Parker Jobin with Coalition Gym, and we're going to talk about the difference, what they do, how it's so great for your body, your health. And it's not just about getting stronger, but it's really about living a higher quality life.
Simply Health, Saturdays at noon on News Talk STL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com.
Beat the summer heat with Johnson Heating and Cooling, your trusted local family business. We specialize in residential air conditioning service, furnace and AC replacement, new construction, finished basements, room additions, and energy-efficient geothermal systems. At Johnson Heating and Cooling, our motto is simple. We treat our customers like we want to be treated, with complete transparency and honesty. Call 636-332-4141. That's 636-332-4141.
Taste the difference that fresh local makes. Anthony's Produce supports our local farmers by bringing you the finest locally grown produce in town. From the juiciest peaches and melons to the sweetest corn and ripest tomatoes, we've got it all. Plus, discover our amazing selection of locally made jams, salsas, pickles, and fresh sourdough breads. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6:30, and Sundays, 8 to 5. 701 Jungerman Road in St. Peters, or visit anthonysproduce.com.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Irrigation systems are put through the stress test throughout our hot Heartland summers when temperatures skyrocket and rain is scarce. Tim Jones here for Hydrodynamics Core, which you should call today to make sure your irrigation system is running at peak performance. This is critical to ensure your lawn and foliage remain lush and lovely and that your grass and plants thrive instead of just barely survive. Schedule a monthly system checkup today with Hydrodynamics Core to make sure your irrigation system is working at its best. That's hydrodynamicscore.com, hydrodynamicscore.com.
Hello, I'm Missouri State Treasurer Vivek Malik. August 14th is National Able Savings Day, a time to highlight how ABLE accounts empower individuals with disabilities. Our More ABLE program helps Missourians save for everyday needs without losing public benefits. To celebrate, we are offering a $25 match for anyone who opens a new account in August. Earnings grow tax-free and contributions qualify for a state tax reduction. Let's help more Missourians build financial independence. Learn more at moable.com.
Paid for by the Missouri State Treasurer's Office.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
This is Larry Connors reminding you to listen to my program Monday through Friday at 6 p.m., the Larry Connors USA Daily Report. But now, back to the outstanding Dr. Randy Tobler.
This way, but I will tell you something that did happen in the summer of 16. U.S. intelligence, when they first intercepted this, began to look at some other things. Could this be true? Could the Russians really have something? Have they stumbled onto a plot? One of the things they intercepted were text messages that showed that the first thing Hillary Clinton was going to do was to turn to Vice President Joe Biden and see if he would take the first blow against Donald Trump. Would he go out right in the middle of July and say, I think Donald Trump's got a Russia problem? Well, they watched that happen in real time. First in 2 interviews, then at a speech at the Democratic National Committee. It led some of our U.S. intelligence analysts to believe that what the Russians had captured was an ongoing plot and that it was really going on. And then a few days later, the FBI opens up, just like the Russian intelligence suggested. What we are sadly lacking is a complete investigation. This 10 years later, Chris Wray's FBI, John Durham's investigation, the U.S. Intelligence Committee, James Comey never fully investigated this.
We have had investigation after investigation, and it took Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and working to uncover, I guess, previously uncovered documents. And we are now finding out that this may be, in fact, one of the biggest scandals ever. To help us analyze that, Virginia Kruta joins us now, of course, contributor to the Daily Wire. Virginia, is it an understatement or an overstatement to say that this may be one of the biggest political scandals in American history? I mean, this is unbelievable. Collusion between the Russians, between the intel community, the Hillary Clinton campaign, and the media. I mean, is there any other way to paint it?
No, I think that's pretty accurate. I think we already knew that. And I think that we knew that. The only thing,
but the investigations didn't show it. The investigations didn't come down and put down the hammer.
No, because they were being run by the people who were involved. But again,
John Durham?
We've been saying this. Well, John Durham could only release what the president at the time allowed him to release, right? Because it's classified until the president declassifies it, right? So some of this information that Tulsi Gabbard is finding and the Trump administration is systematically declassifying is stuff that John Durham actually did uncover but couldn't release because it was not on him to declassify it. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, I get it.
Some of it, I think some of it was uncovered. I think some of it wasn't because they were like, oh, no, you don't need to turn that rock over, you know?
Yeah.
Right. So I think he was not given access to everything, but at the same time, he was also not allowed to reveal some of what he did find. Now, does that mean, because I get not wanting to be the guy who declassified the stuff he wasn't supposed to, or who went public with classified information, because then you end up in the Julian Assange, Edward Snowden kind of bucket, and people don't want to take that seriously either. So I get being that John Durham was kind of between a rock and a hard place as far as what he could release and what he couldn't. That said, I think we still deserve to know what's going on. And the problem was we had an FBI and a CIA and an administration who were wholly uninterested in actually doing a real investigation because they knew their own part in it, in what was going to come out. So do I think it's the biggest political scandal in history? Not quite, because I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we spent 4 years with a president who didn't know what day it was. So honestly, I think that the cover-up of Joe Biden's decline, I think that one clocks as the biggest cover-up in American history.
Okay.
And I think that this one's close behind it, but I don't think we can lose sight of what happened during the last administration just to go back and rewrite the history, most of which we actually knew, even if we didn't have proof.
And sadly, Virginia, a real casualty of that was a loss of faith in what I think most people would agree are important institutions, right? I mean, our law enforcement institution, our intelligence, we need those people to be humming along in our interest and with integrity. But what about the media? I mean, the media has been destroyed, an essential pillar of American that First Amendment objective media. It's been decimated, and they still can't admit their foibles. They still can't admit it, Virginia.
Now, the thing is, this is where I disagree with a lot of people, because there are a lot of people who say Donald Trump broke the media. I don't think that that's true. I think the media has been skewing hard left for a very long time. I think Donald Trump exposed the brokenness of our media because he's the one who made it obvious, because it was just because they couldn't take sides without being obvious about it once Trump became a part of the picture. So I think that there was stuff that they weren't telling us before that. I think that the media was working to assist go back to George W. Bush even. I mean, the media was helping the left-wing pundits who were saying that Bush was Hitler and he was a war criminal and everything else. Media was helping them. They were driving the bus. And nobody, but because that was more of a mainstream thing to say, and there was actually some kind of there when they were doing the investigations, then it was a little bit harder to see. But when Donald Trump stands up and does something obvious, and then the media sits next to the pundits going, yeah, what you don't see what you see. The gaslighting became so obvious that it was impossible to dismiss it anymore. So I think that I think that media has been broken for a while. I think that Trump is the catalyst for its exposure more than anything else.
Good analysis. Now, Virginia, maybe you can convince, Jerome wants to watch the Sydney Sweeney ads because he's heard a lot about how attractive she is and how good jeans she is. But he doesn't want to be accused of being a Nazi. The question is, should he watch the Sydney Sweeney ads, and will you be buying any American Eagle jeans today? That's the question for Virginia.
I already have some. I already have some. So I mean, I had American Eagle jeans before this, so I like to think of myself on the ground floor of all of this. No, but here's the thing. Like, does I think that it's hilarious that you can't say that someone has now. 10 years ago, if you had said, "Oh my gosh, look at how Cindy Crawford is aging. She is genetically blessed."
Yeah.
Nobody would have blinked. They just wouldn't
You're right.
have.
You're right.
And now you say Sydney Sweeney has great genes. And the thing is, because and if this had been Beyonce in the commercial, nobody would have blinked.
Yeah.
And they even made the comment. But because Sydney Sweeney is white, now if you agree that she has great genes and you like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I get the double meaning there. Then because she has blonde hair and blue eyes, which I don't think she's a natural blonde, but unrelated to that, because she has that certain look, oh, well, then this must be about eugenics. These same people don't listen when you say, oh, yeah, well, when they put abortion clinics in Black communities on purpose, this is about eugenics. But if you say, because somebody looks nice in a pair of jeans and that person happens to be white, oh, my gosh, you want to kill all the people who don't look like her. Like, what is wrong with you people? And the same thing happened. So he can... Go ahead and watch it. And then there's a Dunkin' Donuts commercial that just followed with a guy, I cannot remember his name, Gavin something, from The Summer I Turned Pretty, the Netflix thing. Anyway, and it's and they're joking about it being white boy summer in all its glory, because it's a very Abercrombie and Fitch, like 90s style, sitting by the pool in shorts with a button down that's open down to the navel, right? And he's tan and he's got the sun-kissed hair, and he's like, oh, you know, I didn't ask to be the king of summer. It just happened. Like this is, it's in my, and he actually says something about like it's genetic. I just had my colors done and it's golden summer, literally. And he's talking about this new refresher drink, and they're like, oh my gosh, another eugenics ad. No, guys, this is like the 90s in all its glory. That's all that's happening here, guys. It doesn't matter what color he is, but you cannot do golden summer with someone who doesn't tan.
No,
you just
you're
can't.
right.
Like,
all right,
guys,
well,
no. I mean, and if I was in it, it'd be freckled summer. So, like, come on, guys.
Well, yeah, I'm going to invite everyone.
Move on.
Well, yeah, and I'll make the announcement now, Virginia. If you want to invest, if Jerome, if anyone out there wants to invest in my new jeans company called Dad Bod, and I will have those jeans just perfect for that new jeans brand. We're going to be rolling that out next week. Hey, Virginia, thanks as always for unpacking our crazy, absurd culture here in America. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Oh, boy. She nailed it, didn't she? Hey, next hour at 8:25, we're going to be talking with Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith about the Cincinnati issue, and more coming up on the Tobler Show in just a few. Stay tuned.
Hey, it's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from Channel 4, and we are proud to be the official weather source for News Talk STL. Just like you've grown to expect from us at Channel 4, you can expect the same accurate, detailed, and timely weather coverage from News Talk STL. The First Alert weather team will keep you ahead of the big weather changes. And the one thing you can count on in St. Louis, the weather is constantly changing. So Channel 4 and News Talk STL are committed to keeping you up to date and safe.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com. Brian and his team, they're just amazing people. They're so proud of their operation. Pride in every installation. You can see that in the Google reviews. Pride in the great quality, pride in the great pricing, pride in the great variety and pride in the fact that you can go into the store right off of Highway K in O'Fallon, or the store will come to you. That's the promise of O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
Located in the heart of St. Charles, Kevin's Guns is your family-owned destination for all things firearms. Whether you're a collector, hunter, or military enthusiast, we have it or can get it for you. From new to used rifles and handguns in every style and caliber, our friendly and knowledgeable staff is here to help educate you and ensure you make the perfect choice for your needs. Buy, sell, or browse our incredible selection at kevinsguns.net or call 636-493-1195. Kevin's Guns, where gun enthusiasts come home.
You've worked hard for your money, so protect it. Meet my friend Bob Leslie and ask about the Gain and Retain Plan. Leslie Consulting, 40 years in the St. Louis area as a leader in brokerage and risk management. Call 314-721-0066, 721-0066. Oh, and ask Bob how he was the LA Dodger #1 pick. LeslieConsulting.com.
Tim Jones here from my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Simply put, they've helped me on many occasions. Here's another solution to your everyday aches and pains. The Studio Health and Wellness Center. Services include Pilates and yoga, both with certified instructors. I can also highly recommend the massage therapy, which is not an indulgence. It's a proven method of healing and restoration. Trust my friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
Love spending time outdoors, but hate the bugs? This year's tick problem is worse than ever. Don't let mosquitoes, ticks, gnats, and chiggers ruin your family fun. Mosquito Joe delivers effective pest control that's guaranteed to protect your family and pets. No long-term contract, and we handle all the scheduling for you. Mosquito Joe is winning the battle against bugs. Get your free estimate today by calling 1-855-ASK-A-JOE. That's 1-855-ASK-A-JOE. Mosquito Joe, we make the outdoors fun again.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob in Washington. The American workforce is shifting. Correspondent Ron Taylor takes a closer look.
Native-born Americans have gained more than 2 million jobs, accounting for virtually all employment growth this year. The surge is happening as foreign-born employment has declined. That reverses a trend occurring in recent years. According to data released Friday by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, native-born Americans added 1.8 million jobs over the past 4 months, while foreign-born workers saw a loss of 1.5 billion jobs. This means that from January to June, all of the net job growth based on non-seasonally adjusted figures went to native-born workers. Ron Taylor reporting.
The U.S. Department of Labor stated, quote, wages are up, investments are pouring into our nation, and native-born workers have accounted for all job gains since January. Former California Congressman John Campbell says he's glad the Fed chose not to lower interest rates this week, even though President Trump would like that, because a lower rate might hurt those living off their savings.
And favors a whole lot of his voters. There are a whole lot of seniors and people who save money and put it back. If he were to get what he wants, a 1 point lowering in interest rates, then basically the income of a whole lot of people who save money will drop by about 25%.
Texas Senator John Cornyn says blame for the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza falls squarely on the backs of Hamas.
They're the ones who still hold hostages. They're the ones who killed innocent Israelis back on October the 7th.
Salem News Channel forecaster Stephen Parr says a quick response by coastal officials this week that Russian earthquake makes sense after the 2004 tsunami.
Since then, coastal areas, island areas all around the world have been doing a much better job of putting in warning systems, of taking tsunamis seriously, and trying to get advance warning to their citizens when there is the risk of a tsunami happening.
More at townhall.com.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. You can't go there. You can't play your favorite sport. You better sit this one out. It's no way to live. If pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help you get back to living life again on your terms, one where you say yes a whole lot more. Head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 800-4RELIEF. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by a team of doctors and scientists, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, your joints, your muscles, Relief Factor can help you. as it has for so many others. Give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, a low-cost way for you to sort of take it out for a test drive. Less than $1 a day. Go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800, the number 4-RELIEF. See how you could live with less pain, and you can say yes to more of everything you want with Relief Factor.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Are you tired of chiropractors who rush treatments and overcharge? At Dr. Toby's place, Dr. Tobin Lingefelter takes a different approach.
I believe in listening to my patients, understanding their needs, and treating the whole person.
Whether it's back pain, headaches, or joint issues, Dr. Toby is committed to your complete wellness journey.
I'm not satisfied until you're feeling your best.
Dr. Toby's place, where your wellness journey begins. Call 314-221-4913 or visit softwavemo.com. That is softwave, W-A-V-E, mo.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention NewsTalkSTL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention NewsTalkSTL for 10% off.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
It's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and you are listening to Randy Tobler right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Why? Because you're awesome.
If any of you bought and sold companies, you do not have, somebody's going to buy today. I know I can walk out the door and there'll be somebody to buy the company. So we're going to make people sell things when it might be an absolute worst time to sell something. And they busted their butt to go build that business. And then they want to come up here and serve. And then we say, well, you got to give up your net worth. That's wrong.
I'd like to make one quick point.
Well, that was Rick Scott. That was Senator Rick Scott. He got into a tiff with Senator Josh Hawley, of course, one of our two senators here from Missouri. And this is another example of the devil can be in the details. And it's really interesting to unpack this. Welcome into the Tobler Show again. If you're just joining us, had a lot of good economic talk this morning on the heels of the GDP numbers that were way up after a negative number in the first quarter, way up in the second quarter, 3%. Some down numbers on the job market on Friday and revision downward from the previous couple of months. We talked about that with Dave Hebert at 6 o'clock, 6:25 hour, and then in the 7 o'clock hour with Patrice. So if you didn't get a chance to catch that, catch it on the podcast. Jerome will have that up later on the NewsTalkSTL.com website or on any of your favorite podcast platforms, right? Jerome, you have that up on all those, right?
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else you could think of to get your podcast glory.
Cool. So, wanted to talk about this Pelosi Act that Josh Hawley he's been under various names. He's been pushing, along with other senators, acts to restrict insider trading, right? Because we've seen this where on both sides of the aisle, Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene has really been called out for some investment that looks awfully suspicious. It's like all of a sudden, we've got, these people making bank, ahead of and buying stocks ahead of decisions that come out of congressional legislation, right? So it seems on the surface like a good idea. Let's limit this. And this act is called the Pelosi Act. And that's a clever, it stands for, I think, preventing elected leaders from stock insider trading or something, but it stands for Pelosi because Pelosi and her husband have really profited very, very much, probably among the most of all congressmen over the decades. So he has this act, and I actually went to the text of the act because I couldn't figure out why in the Department of Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, why did Josh Hawley jump ranks as the only Republican to vote with the Democrats, and all the Republicans voted against an act which on the surface seems like, wow, what a great idea. Let's just prevent legislators, senators, congressmen, and women from being able to profit off of the decisions they see that they're making that are affecting various industries or companies. Okay, makes sense, right? And this is where you have to be careful about reading headlines. That includes in the conservative media. And listening to just because someone paints themselves as conservative, God love you, Josh, but I mean, this was not a bad idea. But then I read that Rick Scott was angry because he thought that Josh Hawley was going to work with him to the former governor and current senator from Florida, an entrepreneur. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's been the CEO and the founder of several companies. I think wasn't his healthcare HSA, I'm sorry, yeah, I don't know. At any rate, hospital HCA, Hospital Corporation of America. And I thought, boy, what's behind the curtain here? And I read the text of the bill. Yes, I'm a nerd. I went and read the text of the bill. And I thought, I understand what Senator Scott's problem is with this. And that is that the way corporations are chartered is that there are stockholders. Even if you're a privately held corporation, there may be just 2 or 3 stockholders, maybe just one. So technically, you're a stockholder potentially of a big company that you've built. And the pure text of this legislation would mean that if you're elected in November and you're a, quote, stockholder, not in the sense of you bought stock in NVIDIA, and it's traded on the New York stock, on NASDAQ. I don't know where NVIDIA is traded. I'm a mutual fund guy. I don't do the individual stock thing. Probably should, but I don't. Okay. And Rick Scott was purely saying, look, you're going to make me sell my company when maybe it's a downtime in my industry. Maybe the tariffs are really hammering me. Maybe market conditions are hammering me. You're going to make me sell my stock and sell my company at a loss when it has nothing to do with legislation because of a rule that isn't, or a law that isn't nuanced enough. And right before the clip we just played, Josh Hawley had said, well, that's only if a company has 1,200 employees or more. So if yours is a smaller or medium-sized business, not a problem. Well, then we won't play more of this clip, but Rand Paul, who's the chair of that committee, said, well, wait a minute, I was one of maybe 100 doctors. I don't know if he said the number, but I was part of a large multi-specialty medical group, and we had over 1,200 employees, and I'm a, quote, stockholder. I mean, I think there was a certain bit of heavy-handedness that was not nuanced enough. And Rick Scott was saying, and Rand Paul was saying, well, you're going to, because I own stock in a company that I work in, I participate in, I bet that I have to divest my stock, my ownership. And in some of these multi-specialty medical groups, you have to be a stockholder to participate in the group. That's the way it is. So you know what I mean? It was going to force people to do things economically that was harmful to them. Not only did it prevent them from not gaining, but it was at the moment harmful. And if you'll think about it, this law would have hurt Trump and Vance. And so they forced the Democrats to carve out Trump and Vance, the president and the vice president, and they had to be. So I thought it was an interesting back and forth, and I thought it was a devil's in the detail moment. That's why the Republicans, they appeared to be self-serving, like, oh, you greedy, rich Republicans, you're trying to protect yourself. Well, no, it was a common sense refinement that Rick Scott and others wanted, because there are already some insider trading rules. You have to be transparent about these things. And there are, in fact, websites that say that basically key on what Pelosi is trading. Autopilot, I think, is one of them, or there's one of them that's called that. So I just thought it was an interesting thing where sometimes the headlines belie the reality of what's going on. Jerome?
Yeah, from my understanding, because I started following this a few months ago back when the original draft also included it was going to also force you to actually divest from your own personal company. So if you had like a family farm or some sort of other business. Yeah, right. Now, I just want to point out real quick, though, that the current draft of it would exempt the current presidential administration. It would only kick in next cycle.
Yeah,
but
right. They would phase in those divestments.
But there was a level of support for the bill if basically what the consensus from the Republicans was, if you get rid of forcing the divestment of your own business, then we will go ahead and support this. And the core essence of it is to stop the loophole of, well, I'm not personally insider trading, but my husband happens to be a large hedge fund, or my wife happens to be a large corporate,
Right.
And so I think that that's something that we should all be on board with. And I do understand it would not, if I was reading it correctly, maybe we should get Dave Hebert back on the line real quick. But if you already held stocks, you were not forced to necessarily get rid of them, but you were not allowed to buy more or sell more while you were serving as a congressperson, because if you pass a bill that impacts a business that you might have an investment in, either positively or negatively, you already have an advantage over everybody else that also holds that stock. So I do think it was. I understand the idea that it's being misrepresented as these greedy, conniving, evil, rich Republicans, but at the same time, there is a level of he removed some of the provisions that he was promised support for the bill by our own side.
Yeah.
And then when he finally amended it, now all of a sudden our side's not backing him. And I just think that's not good optics. It's not a good look for us.
I don't know. I think that it was an example of where sometimes we see people on our own side of the fence, as well as those certainly on the other side of the fence, sometimes being unwilling to maybe have some conversations in quiet quarters behind closed doors to smooth things out. Instead of they reject that for the sake of maybe being able to get up and grandstand a little bit. I mean, I just, that it just concerns me, because I really think there is a way that this could be crafted. And for the most part, this bill was pretty good and pretty clean. But I mean, look, could it be that whatever 8, 9 other, very conservative minded, Rand Paul is probably among the most libertarian, clean congressman that you could want, right? That does not want anything in terms of, and yet he was against the bill. And so it's just, I think it's an example of where Josh Hawley maybe needs to, step back a little bit. Yeah, it's a great idea. Beautiful, general idea. We need to carve out that basically investment by proxy by your relatives. And I do like the rules about blind trust. I like the rules about what's wrong with saying to someone, when it comes to major stock exchange traded equities, that, you gotta switch those, get rid of those, and get into mutual funds. What's wrong with a rule like that? I don't think that's going to significantly hurt anyone that's running for or elected to office. But man, we've got to do something to prevent these people from, like we saw pre-COVID, from being able to know what's coming down the pike. They knew things were happening overseas. They had intelligence. They had other insider information. And boy, people were dumping stock in some cases, buying stock in other cases, because they knew more about COVID than we did. And they knew about some of the rules and regulations and legislation that was going to come down the pike. And that's where I think it really added fuel to the fire, for sure. No doubt about that. Well, we've got to talk a little bit about law and order, and we've got to talk a lot about that with the New York shooting, with the Cincinnati episode, and everything else that followed. And I do want to talk about that as we touch base with Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith with the National Police Association. We'll touch base with her in a few minutes when we return here on News Talk STL 1019-94.1, The Randy Tobler Show. Glad you're with us.
You guys are a shining beacon of liberty in these dark and troubled times on the airway.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunderstealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Well, you know, at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles, there is nothing but integrity. It is in the air, it is in the water, it is in the tools they use, it is in the technique, the expertise, and frankly, the innovation that they bring to your dental care at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. Doctors Cusimano and Dwyer do that for me every 6 months or so, and in between if I need it. Been doing that for years, and it's a great place where they transform smiles. They really do. From maybe those smiles you don't want to show the beautiful pearly whites to one where you're like, yeah, let me show you with all the great pearly whites I have. That's the kind of work they do. And if you want to investigate the world of Botox and dermal fillers, they'll do that too. Some cosmetic dentistry, dental implants, and yes, my favorite, those crowns, those same-day crowns, which not in all cases, but in very, very many cases. I have relatives, I have friends, I have coworkers that have benefited from their great work in that realm. So check them out at advanceddentistrynow.com. That's advanceddentistrynow.com. Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
Great patio season to enjoy any of the Cafe Napoli locations. How about the Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield? Enjoying coal-fired pizza, nothing else like it. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. A few doors down, Lit Cigar Lounge, where you can enjoy premium cigars and whiskeys. Check the Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook for details, plus gift cards for friends. I'll see you at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield.
Looking for excitement, fun, and delicious food for the whole family? Piccadilly Parwan has it all. Savor our scratch-made dishes. Nothing frozen. Every bite a true delight. Roll into fun at Piccadilly Palace for roller skating or race your heart out at Piccadilly Kart Racing. Join us for happy hour Monday through Friday, 4 till 6. Free select appetizers and drink specials. And don't miss our mouth-watering Sunday family dinners. Piccadilly Parwan on Audrey Lane in Union, Missouri, or online at piccadillypar1.com.
Retirement planning used to be easy. You put in your 40 years with the company, get the gold watch, and life's good, right? Wrong. Randy Tobler here. Planning for retirement today involves balancing critical decisions regarding your investments, pensions, Social Security, and more. That's why I'm urging you to start planning now. It's also why you should connect with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. They bring a combined 100 years of wealth management experience to help you with your retirement plan. You can hear Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 during On the Money here on News Talk STL 1019. Their team is ready to help you design your retirement plan with the care and commitment you deserve. Request your complimentary retirement plan consultation today at clearpathinvesting.com or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Summer is here, and that means it's time to gear up at Whistle Pig Outdoors on Main in Troy. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors, family owned and operated by hunters who know their stuff. Beat the heat with premium Costa sunglasses and American-made Grizzly coolers that keep everything ice cold. Upgrade your bow at their full-service archery shop. Expert technician on staff for Hoyt and Bear bows. Call 636-775-1110 or visit Main Street in Troy. Whistle Pig Outdoors, your year-round outdoor headquarters.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Every day it's something new. No one else is really talking about this.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too.
Trump's doing the right thing.
You know, there's so many issues.
It's over.
I think you're politically wrong.
Very upset.
I will have to agree with you.
You're one of the sweetest guys in the world for a guy who's so bad on politics.
1019 and 94.1.
Your platform is like really, really important to us.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Joined now by Illinois Congressman Mike Boss.
They have controlled the Senate. They have controlled the House. So you should accomplish a tremendous amount of things, like empty store shelves, 7% inflation, highest in the last 40 years. How about skyrocketing gas prices? A crisis at our southern border. Our allies don't trust us, and our enemies don't fear us. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of accomplishments.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. Weekday mornings, 5:30 to 9 on News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Border crossings are at an all-time low. We're talking with Laura Reese from Heritage and also Susie Moore from RedState.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Breaking these rocks in the hot sun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. I wanted money.
What was distorted? Yeah, so I think by the irresponsibility with social media is it just shows one side of the equation quite frequently without context, without factual context. And then people run with that. And then it grows legs and it becomes something bigger that we then have to try to manage as part of the investigation. So hold on.
Well, that was the police chief, of course, in Cincinnati earlier in the week, really put her foot in her mouth. Police Chief Teresa Thietke, who was essentially gaslighting the public as being the problem with that brutal attack. It turns out there were 6 victims, and you saw the brutal attack chronicled on X. And I think that story has continued to reverberate throughout America. Certainly, you have to scratch your head and say, why didn't people call 911 earlier than they did? Why were people videoing it? But I'm in a way glad someone was videoing it because it needs to be shown. She said that there was something about context. You don't understand the context of this. Well, I don't know. A verbal altercation that turns into the brutal beating of 6 people. A woman was knocked unconscious, bleeding out of the side of her mouth. She looked like she looked like a dead woman laying there on the pavement. It was just hard to watch. To help us understand what's going on in our cities and across America and our problem with law and order and what our police are doing to try to fight it despite a lot of headwinds, is Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith with the National Police Association. Betsy, welcome into the program, and thanks for allowing us some time here. I know you're just off of a Newsmax appearance. Good to see you all over the big video screens everywhere across America. But man, those images are still waking me up in a cold sweat throughout the week. It was just hard to watch, wasn't it?
It really was, and
those are things that, cops are used to seeing scenes like that and intervening. And quite frankly, before we had smartphones and all of that, people would have been jumping in to help. And now people, they video and they do commentary, and that's frustrating. I was also frustrated by the police chief's initial response, admonishing people for releasing those videos and talking about, as you said, that it was out of context. It wasn't out of context, and that now they have a city council member that is under fire for saying ignorant things, and all of this racial animus, all of this violence. This is not who America is, and we need to go back to our law and order values, I believe. And now I sound like my grandmother, but that's the truth.
You sound like
Now I
everyday
am a
common
grandmother.
sense Americans at all. You're so right when you said it initially, she got it so wrong. But to her credit, yesterday, I think it was yesterday or day before, I think she got it so right. Take a listen to this. Clip 8, Jerome.
Sorry, the gremlins are back. One moment while I shake them off with the stick real quick.
Okay, well, she did get it right, where she really, I think, walked it back and really said that we have a larger problem. And when it comes to people getting involved, I want you to hear this. Take a listen and get your thoughts. Well, okay, what
daily to remove violent offenders from the streets, only to see them released quickly and sometimes without consequences. This cycle must end.
And Betsy, you and I have talked about this before, but one of the reasons that I think I, as an everyday citizen, would be more hesitant now than I would have been in my youth or even 15, 20 years ago, I don't know where that line is. I'm afraid that if I got involved, if I took someone down, I'm thinking of that guy on the New York subway, I may end up in the eyes of our delusional, deranged prosecutors and judges in some cases, I might be the bad guy. So why the heck would I get involved? And I know that's a different line, but I think it's related to what I think police are so frustrated about. What's wrong with our prosecutor class and our judicial class? What is wrong with them, with the revolving door and the failure to call right and wrong?
Our judicial system and a large portion of our political class have not caught up with the post George Floyd hangover that I think America is really over. People want to see, and the chief said it well, they want to see people punished. We want to see people actually pay for their crimes. And we don't want to see this revolving door of criminals coming out to reoffend. And yet you still have all of these lenient prosecutors. And as America is now seeing, you have a judiciary who doesn't necessarily want to follow the law. Remember, go back to the 90s when we had 3 strikes, you're out. We had mandatory minimum sentencing, things like that. A lot of that has been thrown away, especially in these larger blue cities and counties where people just are not being appropriately punished. And then you have, what that does is that doesn't just endanger the rest of us, but what it does is empowers those people who have a tendency toward violence, and they think, well, hey, I'll just beat the hell out of these 2 older white people in Cincinnati, for example, because nothing's going to happen to me. And, we're going to see what's going to happen. But we had low bail for one of the offenders, and that really frustrated people. America's got to the pendulum's got to swing back to the side of law and order and justice in the judiciary.
Yeah. We're getting some feedback on our video feed Betsy, about some reporting that maybe the guy who we saw kicked and beat by the band of assailants, that he, quote, started it. Now, initially it was reported that there was a verbal altercation. I don't know. I was taught, talk about sounding old, I was taught sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean, just because you say something. Now, I don't know whether he actually physically touched someone or punched someone. There was some video that came out from the police where it looked like he had hands up in sort of a prize fighter thing. But did he say something that then someone thought justified a physical altercation? I mean, I don't know. Do you have any inside reporting on that or any other knowledge?
That has not been released, and I have talked to my law enforcement sources in Ohio. That part, there was this rumor that there was some racial words, and there is that videotape of the male white victim, kind of poking at one of the suspects. But what you have to look at is, does the response meet the initial action? And there's where we have our problem. And that's what, that's one of the things the city council person is in trouble for. You've got to have an appropriate response. It goes back to what you were talking about with use of force response. As a police officer, if somebody pushed me, I couldn't pull out my gun and shoot them. I had to meet force with maybe one more step up of force, but I couldn't use deadly force. And understand that what we saw in the video, that very much was extreme force, bordering on deadly force, that kind of a beatdown. So we'll see. But obviously the prosecutor in Cincinnati has determined that the victim is not an offender, at least so far.
Yeah. We're talking with Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith with the National Police Association at nationalpolice.org. And you can stay in touch with Betsy on X at Sergeant Betsy Smith. That's SGT Betsy Smith. Let's talk a little bit about, you talked about empowering with lackadaisical prosecution, the revolving door in and out of repeat offenders, and some real pathology in the judicial system and the prosecutors and the judges. I've talked with Andrew Bailey, the Attorney General here in Missouri, and he has a real beef with the juvie system and how we really don't send messages to young offenders in whatever proper way that would be. And I guess there's sociologists and criminal justice researchers who know what is effective in terms of punishment and accountability for juvenile offenders. Is that something that police are concerned about? Is that something that police know how to handle through their presence, through being friends at the right time to young people and, accountability agents at the other time with young people? Or am I barking up the wrong tree there? Because I know Andrew Bailey thinks there's a problem there.
Absolutely. You're spot on. And this is something I talk about in the media frequently. The state of Maryland has a terrible problem with violent juvenile crime, and the body in Maryland, for example, that runs the juvenile justice system is terribly lenient. And so you have 10, 11, 12-year-olds committing carjackings and violent home invasions and things like that, and you have issues in Missouri and Illinois as well. There is a balance, and we always, and law enforcement has known this for 50 years. I was a juvenile investigator and all of that you do really have to balance, and you've got to give young people under the age of 18, extra chances to write their life. But we also have to punish aberrant behavior. And, there is a lot of difference between a kid who goes in and shoplifts a 6-pack of beer and maybe gets into a foot chase with the police, and a kid who is doing, violent criminal behavior or dealing drugs or connected with a street gang and doing their bidding, all of that. And we have got to go back to punishing aberrant behavior. And I mean, every parent listening to this, including you and me, knows that the way that you keep your kids in line is you punish them, right? You restrict their you restrict their movement, all of that. But we do have to give them extra chances, but you also have to give them opportunities. You can't just slap an ankle bracelet on a violent juvenile offender and send them back home to the same crappy neighborhood and the same street gang affiliations and expect them to get their life squared away.
Yeah, I just really am so disappointed, Betsy, that decision makers locally, statewide, nationally don't, at least my observation is that they don't seem to be listening enough to people like you. You've done policing from all levels, all up and down the spectrum, from, on the beat to canine to detective to leader. And I just don't get the sense that they stay in touch with you enough and your colleagues to say, look, we really have a pretty good bead on what's going on, from the juvie all the way up to the hardened, recalcitrant, unrehabable criminal. And we really have some pretty good ideas to, how to really make this system work. All the way from just having a presence with I think of the Irish cop on the streets swinging his billy club. You see that in some of the old Broadway musicals, hey there, Johnny, there you go. Don't do that. And at the same time, being the kid's friend, going in with the dog to the school, that worked when I was growing up. And we seem to have lost that. Why don't legislators, why don't leaders, why don't administrators, why don't city counselors, why don't they listen to you? Or are they listening to you? I don't know.
Well, it's starting, that type of community policing is starting to come back in certain areas. But one of the big problems we still have, again, and I call it the George Floyd hangover, is we don't have enough cops to do that. So unfortunately, most police departments in this country are still very short-staffed. And in the larger blue cities, they're down by hundreds, if not thousands, of police officers. And as we saw during the original defund the police movement, the first thing that went when departments started to get defunded was community policing, school resource officers, things like that. Wow. And again, you still have these people who you've got lots of MBAs and PhDs who think that they know better because they're not on the street like we are. They are sitting in a classroom. They are sitting in an office, sometimes even sitting on a bench, but they don't really see what kids are having to deal with and what it takes to save a young person. And and you take all that and you combine it with social media and the social pressures that kids are under now, it's a real recipe for disaster.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, with social media, they're getting street smart quicker, right? And so you guys are fighting you guys and gals, I mean, are fighting an uphill battle in policing, because a lot of moms now are leading single. I mean, many, 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 many more than in a day yesteryear. Homes in America are single parent homes, and most of those are single mom homes. And most of those people are trying to make a living, pay the high prices to keep food on the table and clothes on the backs of the kids and shelter over their heads. And they just don't have all of the time to do the parenting, to keep them honest with the social media and all that. That's why, to me, this first staffing to where we can then do the community policing, because let's just call it what it is. I mean, the police, in many cases, and people in authority, police and teachers, have to be surrogate parents anymore. I mean, we don't want to see it that way, but that's the reality. And unless you guys are properly staffed, it's not going to happen.
No, you're right. And I'll tell you, even though I've been retired for quite some time, there are still people who I knew as kids, as juveniles on the street, who got their lives squared away that I still keep in touch with. But it was kind of a daily occurrence, a daily check-in with some of these juvenile delinquents. Hey, how's it going today? But again, and I know cops now who are involved in those kind of things. It's a very individual situation, and there are still programs. But again, we have the far left political class that tells kids police are bad, and they tell school administrators and teachers that police in the schools scares the children. And these after-school programs that, like the police athletic leagues and things we used to have, police explorer programs, things like that. You're going to indoctrinate these children and turn them into Nazis for the government and all this crazy stuff. There's so much crazy talk and so much misunderstanding that a lot of parents, especially, like you talk about the single moms, they're afraid because of all this indoctrination to let their kids go hang out in a police inspired program and things like that. But I will say, because you don't see it in the media, there are a lot of amazing programs around this country that law enforcement's involved in. And we're doing a lot of good, but you can't measure prevention, and you hardly ever hear about the good stuff in the media.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Well, I want to encourage folks to go to nationalpolice.org and consider helping Betsy and the National Police Association, encouraging a proper and true and honest appraisal of what police do and help support them. Because look, we got the likes of Mamdani. I mean, that Mamdani guy is going to probably be the next mayor of New York City. And when it starts there, it's liable to sweep across the country in blue cities like St. Louis and Kansas City and everywhere else. I mean, how sad is that, Betsy? And then I'll let you go.
It's extraordinary. I have so many friends that are NYPD current and retired, and they're just, what they're talking about is a mass exodus of that agency. A lot of them are already looking because they think he's going to be elected, and you're going to see an absolutely decimated NYPD. And like you said, where New York goes, the rest of the country goes. So, it's something to watch, and hopefully, you got to hope that somebody else gets in there and that another political party stops him in his tracks.
Well, or that it's so bad so quickly that everyone else views that as a punch right between the eyes and goes, whoa, wait a minute, we don't want to go there. I mean, I guess we can hope. Betsy, always great to talk with you. Thanks for being with us. I know you have a busy schedule. Appreciate your time.
I love being on with you. Thanks so much, and everybody enjoy the weekend.
All right, we will. Nationalpolice.org. Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith with us on the Randy Tobler Show. When we come back, let's wrap it up. We've got some leftovers for you. We'll cover those and invite your calls, 314-912-1019 on NewsTalk-STL 1019-94.1 on a Saturday morning, the Tobler Show.
She was the best thing I ever had.
News, analysis, opinion.
This is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
There have been some 850 rescues.
What happened? Why did it happen?
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Are uneven concrete surfaces causing you headaches? Polytime Concrete Leveling and Restoration has the solution. We're a veteran and family-owned business offering long-lasting solutions for all your concrete problems. From precision concrete leveling to our superior restoration services, our precision polyjacking outperforms traditional mudjacking any day. Call Polytime at 636-487-3282 for a free estimate or visit itspolytime.com. Mention Newstalk STL and get $125 off any job of $600 or more, or 10% off your service.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
For over 50 years, Di Gregorio's Italian Market has been serving up a taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned and operated, nestled in the heart of the hill. From homemade sausage and meatballs to spadini, pizzas, pastas, and sauces, our wide variety of Italian specialties will transport your taste buds straight to Rome. For a truly authentic Italian shopping experience, visit your friends at Di Gregorio's. Shop local, shop Di Gregorio's Italian Market, where every bite tells a story.
Well, it is definitely summer here in the Heartland. Time to call Hanson's Tree Service for all of your commercial and residential tree care. Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. Let them come out to your homestead or your business today. Take care of everything regarding the exterior of your home. Grinding and land clearing, all residential and commercial tree services. They've got fantastic organic mulch in bulk, plant health care as well. Give them a call, 636-379-1830, 24/7. They're always available at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
How do you find a roofing contractor you can trust? You could randomly pick one and cross your fingers. Or here's a better idea. Choose Expert Group Contracting. We're proud to use America's most trusted roofing brand, Owens Corning. That means we've been screened for reliability, professionalism, and customer service. Residential or commercial roofing, licensed, insured, and offering free estimates. Why take chances on your roof? Visit expertgroupcontracting.com. That's expert with an X, groupcontracting.com.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that tune when I'm back on top in June.
Hey, welcome back into the program. Thanks for being with us all morning. It's I always look forward to our time together, and we'll certainly have a lot to talk about next week because, of course, these tariffs have rolled out yesterday. Some will be dripping out over the next weeks and months, and we'll have to see how it all settles out because I think it'll take a while to settle down. You know, from time to time, you see a politician who has an amazing skill set. One of those politicians is Senator Eric Schmidt. And there's no wonder to me that Eric Schmidt is in Trump's good graces and gets along with him, and they're bros of sorts, you know. And as a junior senator, how Schmidt has really propelled to pretty elevated heights. Because he's got this talent of being able to get very serious and talk about the matters of the day, the policy issues, but then at another time be very unassuming, everyday guy, just hanging out, watching the ball game, playing the ball game very well, mind you. We've seen that. And there, I caught this clip. I don't know if you saw it, but they caught him in the tunnel that's underneath the Capitol there, where you can go from the office buildings up to the Capitol and then up. We've been in there. If you've visited Washington, you can go in there and see it and be there. That's where some of these interviews occur. So you may have seen this bit where some high noon spirit-laden liquid found its way into Celsius cans. Did you see that, Jerome?
No.
See that? Celsius is an energy drink, I guess. I don't really involve myself with too much of that stuff. All right. And high noon obviously is a vodka, vodka cooler or something. And so they had to recall a bunch of Celsius. Well, a reporter caught Senator Schmidt in the tunnel, and this was a lighthearted moment. And this is part of the gift that Eric Schmidt has. Listen.
Sir, do you drink Celsius?
I'm not going to be like a big Celsius guy. I know Mike Johnson is like a spokesperson for Celsius at this point.
Are you familiar with the recall, though? Apparently, hard, like vodka sodas were accidentally put. The FDA has now recalled a number of Celsius.
More attractive to me, actually, if it was a vodka soda.
Would you like one?
I'll take it, sure. Thank you very much.
So he walks away, and then he walks away and then he says, by the way, was this one of the recalled ones? I'll have to do a taste test. Here
Not
he comes.
sure.
Let us know. Well, maybe I'll have a taste test.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. And I think that's an amazing skill set. And I think that Eric Schmidt has a bright future, probably with whatever he wants to do. I don't know about you. What do you think, Jerome? He's got a way of just being very, very everyday kind of a guy, right?
Yeah, I think I want to have a Celsius with him now that I think about it.
Yeah, I'm wondering what happened to all that recalled Celsius. Certainly they didn't dump it down the drain, did they?
Oh, man.
Are you an energy drink guy? Do you I don't really get into those too much. I prefer coffee if I'm going to have my caffeine, but I guess everyone to his own. Huh?
Yeah. So due to the nature of my lifestyle, my caffeine receptors, got quite fatigued. So I switched over to some energy drinks, and I do drink Celsius because it's, no sugar. It's got some vitamins and some other good stuff in there. I know that they're not great for you, but it helps give me a break from coffee from time to time. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to endorse them because they're not sponsoring the show, but they're pretty good. And if they're putting vodka in them, I mean, even better, right?
Isn't that? Now you got to wonder. I mean, isn't it in these days? And I don't know whether it just happens as you get more mature in life, but I think it has a lot to do with our news cycle. You get cynical about things and you wonder, did they do that? Was that a contrived stunt just for publicity? I mean, I don't know. You got to ask the question. Does it take a tinfoil hat to think that through when you look at what's been going on with the data we're getting from Pam Bondi and Bongino and Kash Patel and what's been coming out there and Tulsi Gabbard? I mean, my goodness. It's now coming so crystal clear with bright light shining on the corruption and the evil underbelly that was the conspiracy. And is there any other way to paint it between Barack Obama's administration, his Department of Justice, probably Barack Obama with his at least tacit approval, if not active involvement with approving of fake, phony intel that the intel community knew and changed and then sold to the media. Well, leaked to the media, and the media continued to double down on it. Now that's the same Washington Post and New York Times and, who, especially the Washington Post. I mean, come on, that was the Washington Post that uncovered the Watergate incident. There was a time when reporting at the highest levels was, even though they may have been editorially on the left, Walter Cronkite, perfect example. They were still generally pretty honest. They gave us the news. And they fought corruption in government, whether it came from the left and the right, for the most part. We'll have to see where it goes. Hey, thanks for being with us this week on the Tobler Show. We'll look forward to being with you next week. We'll keep our eyes on everything going on and then bring it to you with our analysis and our opinion next Saturday. God bless you all. We'll see you next time. Have a great weekend. Enjoy this balmy weather.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the NewsTalk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and that includes anything from livestock to the family dog or cat. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and check out all their products and services at oldtowncountrystore.com.
Would you like to win a full season of mosquito and tick protection? Tim Jones here, the new Mosquito Nix team in St. Louis, celebrating their launch with a bite-free backyard sweepstakes. One lucky family will get their entire yard protected. 10 others will get a free fogging treatment just for entering. Call 636-698-1980 now to enter. 636-698-1980. Keep your yard safe and your summer itch-free. Service area restrictions do apply. Mosquito Nix offers permanent, automatic mosquito and tick protection. It's not just fogging, it's real coverage you don't have to think about. They've already helped over 40,000 families nationwide take back their yards with their automatic mosquito control system. Visit mosquitonix.com to learn more. That's mosquitonix.com, 636-698-1980 to enter the backyard sweepstakes. Keep your yard safe, your summer bite free, 636-698-1980.
Ready to upgrade your sleep and save big? At Snooze Mattress Company, save up to $725 on Serta, $600 on Stearns & Foster, and $1,350 off Puffy, plus 0% Wells Fargo financing. Then don't miss our grand opening celebration, Saturday, August 2nd from 10 to 2. We're giving away $30,000 in mattresses, including a $15,000 Tempur-Pedic. $5 mattresses, food, drinks, and prizes. Snooze now, party Saturday. If you don't snooze, you lose.